Thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining us. We trust you've taken a moment to read our land acknowledgement to the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh. And just before we begin on our formal meeting tonight, I wanted to make a nice announcement. As you may know, that on an annual basis, the YWCA announces and nominates people, ladies, women of distinction. There are 17 who have been nominated on the North Shore, and our Heather Keith, the Manager of Climate Action and Environment, with our district staff, has been nominated. I don't know if she's here tonight. Heather, are you here? Stand up, Heather, come on. Yeah. Heather, we're very, very proud of you. Thank you. And I thought just before we call the formal meeting to order, I'd like to just highlight the community on a few items as we move into spring break. If I could ask our corporate officer, the first is the work on the Place for Sport. It is going extremely well. And as you can see, an enormous amount of dirt has been moved. And if we go to the next photo, in no time at all, it's going to look like that. The Nabby Jack House on the waterfront, there's the rendering of what it will look like. This is still going through the process, but pretty cute building. If you've been down to the waterfront, you have seen that the Pattison House was taken apart, literally board by board, and it is now gone. And so we are one home away from completing a long 40-year dream of public ownership of the waterfront. On April 30th, we are very pleased to announce that the Keene Fitness Park in Ambleside is now underway, and we invite all of you to come on April 30th at 10 a.m. and we will formally open that facility. If council approves the existing budget, the tennis courts in Ambleside, which are in much need of repair, there is an allocation to resurface those. And well, last but not least, council has approved, out of existing finances, a new 4-court pickleball facility in Ambleside Park. Oh. I think there's going to be some people that are going to play at this facility. We expect that these facilities will be constructed as fast as we can because we know there are people anxious to play on them. So for those of you who have joined us tonight and enjoy pickleball, thanks for sharing your time with you. And we do thank all of the people that participated on our Pickleball Advisory Roundtable and have worked collaboratively with our staff to support the growth of this very fun and popular sport in our community. We do expect these courts to be ready for play this fall. So with that, I'll call the formal meeting to order, and I'll ask for an approval of the agenda. Councillor Thompson. And by the way, if you came just for that item, you're welcome to leave. Bye-bye. We'd love you to stay for the whole night, but you know.
That was pretty funny. Is that Tim?
Oh, well, they're in Ambleside. We showed you on the picture. In Ambleside Park. Right across from the Boat Shed restaurant, which is also getting a new paint job.
So I'll go ahead while people are clearing out.
We'll move the approval of the agenda.
Yep, March 11th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
Thank you. Councillor Snyder. Question, all in favor? Contrary, carried. Adoption of the minutes, please. Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recommend that the minutes of the February 26, 2024 special open session and regular council meetings and public hearing on the February 29, 2024 special council meeting be adopted as circulated, and 2, the summary of the February 26, 2024 public hearing regarding proposed zoning bylaw number 4662, 2010 amendment bylaw number 5270, 2024, miscellaneous amendments be approved.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Question? All in favor? Contrary? Carried. Item number 4. Tonight we welcome a delegation from the North Shore Safety Council, and it is on the occasion of their 70th anniversary. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
I'm just going to do the slideshow here. One sec. Okay, so I'm off to a good start so far. All right, thank you. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to attend the meeting today, Your Worship and Council. I'm here to give an update on behalf of the North Shore Safety Council. I'm joined by Tom Walker, our president, in the audience here. And so, who are we? We were formed in 1952 and incorporated as a society in BC in June of 1954. And we are a member of the Canada Safety Council, which is the home of Elmer the Safety Elephant. Our purpose remains, as it always has, to make our community safer for residents in whatever activity they choose to engage in. Our mission, however, has expanded in recent years. We still encourage safe behavior, of course, mostly through educational programs targeted to children. But as reflected in our motto, fostering a safe and active community, we believe that health, particularly through physical activity, is an important component in injury reduction and prevention. Therefore, we encourage active transportation, especially through walking, cycling, rideshare, or transit. Our education and awareness goals focus on accessible, low or no-cost program delivered to children, and by extension, families through school classrooms and public programs. We believe that more people choosing active transportation will positively impact traffic volume and speed, along with other measures to make our roads safer. We appreciate the support from the District of West Vancouver, more practically all of our 70 years. Some of our activities currently are Elmer the Safety Elephant programs are in a rebuilding phase. We would normally see 1,000 West Vancouver school children once or twice a year. And we are in grade 1, kindergarten, public and private, preschools and daycares, and we focus on a pedestrian skills and safety in the fall, and in the spring we do bicycle skills and safety for grade 1. We are very proud of our newest program called Be Bright, Be Seen, at a no-cost resource for teachers of grade 3 children. The program encourages being visible while actively traveling in low light conditions, example, rain, fog, dusk, which we have a lot of on the North Shore. It's been a careful process of development, and with the help of the District of West Vancouver, we have been able to begin rolling the program out. Our goal is to have long-term corporate support for the program. Other ongoing programs have a heavy focus on schools where Elmer is well known. We also do safety blitzes, partnering with ICBC, District of West Vancouver Transportation, West Van PD, and Speedwatch. We also participate on the START School Traffic Advisory Roundtable and provide crossing guard training for any schools that request that. And we actually did a safety blitz at Caulfield this morning. organizational planning, consultation, and collaboration take place in nearly monthly meetings over Zoom, where we act as a hub for interested residents, agencies, and municipal staff. We are currently planning a public safety forum this fall. Helmet safety, we also focus on concussion awareness, bubble-wrapped children, and traffic speed on residential streets were some of the three areas of focus that we focused for our three previous forums that we have done. Some special acknowledgements. We very much appreciate the cooperation of these municipal and school district representatives who regularly attend our meetings, provide helpful information and listening ears to issues that are raised by our membership. So as you can see, we work with the District of West Vancouver staff, the West Van PD, and the school district staff listed there. And we really appreciate all of the efforts when we are doing all of our programs that they come and support us at the events. Thank you for your support. I'm happy to field any questions that you may have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Would you forgive me if I shared a little personal history? I hope everyone
Yes,
will forgive me
please.
for a moment. You see, I went to West Bay Elementary School, and in grade 5, Mr. Provost, the principal, called my parents and I to a meeting, and I thought, oh dear, what have I done? Well, I wasn't the best student, and the principal said to my parents, I think your son is a little bit bored. And so he said, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to give Mark the key to the school, and I'm going to ask him to come every morning and turn the lights on and raise the Elmer the Safety Elephant flag, which I did all the way through grade 12, every single day. So
That's
my
awesome.
friends tease me a lot about Elmer.
Oh, that's a great story. If you don't mind, I'm going to share that.
It's a true history, and my high school buddies give me quite a bad time about it, but my grades improved.
Thank you for sharing that. Elmer, we are celebrating 70 years this year, and we hope to have all of you attend our fall forum. We're in the organizational stages right now, but we look forward to having you all come and take part and celebrate with us.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gambioli.
Excuse me, I'm going to thank you in a moment, but first I just have a couple things. I've been on the school traffic and safety committee for a number of years, on and off, and Culvir has been on that committee with all of us all that time. She is an extremely energetic and dedicated and amazing person. She also happens to be, she used to be the chair of the North Van School Board and is now simply a trustee. So she knows a lot of what's going on. So I wanted to thank her for her dedication in all these areas. But question for you, later in our agenda, we're discussing a bike lane issue, and the new terminology, I believe, is mobility lanes.
Yes.
To be a little more comprehensive and include not just bikes, but any wheeled vehicle except a car.
Yes.
And maybe a motorcycle. So just in general, could you just comment on the North Shore Safety Council's position on separated bike lanes in the issue, in the safety arena?
Yeah, I think that wherever that we can have separated bike lanes, it is safer for all modes of travel to be going at the same time. The roads are for everyone. It doesn't matter if you drive a car, if you're walking, you're on the bike, you're on a scooter. Everybody should have safe access of how they're traveling, and with the environment and climate action as it is, we should be thinking of other modes of travel other than the car to be getting around. And especially for kids, active transportation and physical literacy, they should be out walking. They shouldn't be driven to school. If they need to be driven to school, they should be going drive to 5 and finding spaces and then walking their child in. But if we need to build this self-esteem and self-confidence in them to be able to walk or bike to school. And as they get older in high school, personally, I believe none of the high school students should be driven to school. They should be taking transit. The biggest traffic congestion is caused by parents on a daily basis. When there's a holiday, watch after spring break on Monday, there will be no, the streets will all be free and clear. So I'm a big component of physical activity, self-confidence, building that self-independence for our kids, and they're actually happier if they are walking to school. They're not wasting time. Teachers also, they are not having to take them outside to go run a couple of laps in the field and then go back to the desks and start teaching. They're not ready to learn if they're not even awake when they get to school. So some of my thoughts.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. So I'll recommend that the delegation from the North Shore Safety Council regarding their report on the occasion of their 70th anniversary be received for information with thanks.
Thanks very much, Councillor Thompson.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Thanks so much for joining us
No,
tonight.
thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of the meeting.
Thank you. And our next item is the Urban Forest Management Plan. This is an extremely comprehensive report prepared by Ms. Keith. And I don't know if you're going to are you going to make a full presentation? I should just say, because Ms. Keith doesn't realize that we feel that this item is of significant importance, that we will set aside an entire evening early in April for full community input. I don't know if any of you came to speak to it tonight, but we think that it's really worthy of more time than we're going to be able to have this evening. But over to you, Ms. Keith.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council and members of the public. I'm here tonight to present the final Urban Forest Management Plan for Council consideration. So I'm just going to go a little bit through the objectives of why we're here tonight, some background on the plan development, and then just giving a bit of an overview on the plan and some of the work that we've been doing over the past couple of months since we were last provided Council an update. So we're here tonight to present the final Urban Forest Management Plan. It's gone through several draft versions and public engagement to bring forward the final plan for consideration. Also wanted to provide tonight some initiatives that have been completed or implemented since we were last here in July. These are some of the short-term action items from the plan that provided staff a bit more information and data to further finish the plan and the implementation framework. So this just gives you an overview of the timeline and the development of the plan. We've gone through several drafts and 2 phases of public engagement. This is based on the findings of the state of the current urban forest. We were last at Council in July and September of 2023, and since then we received approval to do a few of the short-term action items to collect more data and information to finalize the implementation framework. And when I say implementation framework, it means how we would go about implementing the actions outlined in the plan and the resources that we were needed. So now we're here tonight with the final plan for your consideration. So this all was initiated following a canopy cover study that we did in 2021. The aerial GIS analysis showed that 51% of the urban containment boundary of the district is covered with tree canopy. We last did a canopy cover analysis in 2018, and what it showed was that over the 3 years from 2018 to 2021, there was a 2% loss in canopy cover. This was primarily due to private property development, clearing along the highway, as well as new subdivision clearing up in the upper lands. So the key objectives for the plan, and this was developed through public engagement, staff consultation, and working with the consultant, was in order to maintain the canopy cover and the urban forest in a healthy state. We wanted to identify objectives and strategies to retain and manage our healthy existing trees. So mature trees provide the most ecosystem services and the most value to the district. So we want to ensure that all newly planted trees would be maintained and grow to a level that provides us with services that we need. Planting new trees, so ensuring that the forest is successionally maturing and replacing all lost trees. And then maximizing the benefits from the urban forest in terms of carbon sequestration, shading and cooling, which is much needed in our hotter summers, and stormwater management, to name a few. The trees are also provide an important asset in terms of mitigating climate change impacts. And the objectives of the plan is to seek community understanding and support, so providing education and working with the community to understand the value of our urban forest. Oops. So taking all of that into account, although recognizing that we encounter certain conflicts or challenges in terms of trees dying due to drought or pest diseases, we have development activities in the district, so looking at housing needs. There's a concern with conflicts with infrastructure as well as view impacts that are important to community members. So we needed to account for all of the challenges that we face with our urban forest. So the plan is laid out by first developing a vision, which we developed with community members during the first public engagement period. Once we had a vision established, we looked at different scenarios of a canopy cover target to work towards. So the plan goes for 15 years. So we looked at scenarios to achieve a canopy cover target within 15 years of plan implementation. From that canopy cover target, we identified goals or focus areas to work within, and I'll get into those in a second. And then outlined actions. So these are achievable actions that staff and the community can implement to achieve the targets. Once we had the actions in place, we had to develop an implementation schedule. So looking at the resourcing and funding needs, as well as the higher priority actions to start to maintain or grow our canopy cover. So this is the vision that was established for the Urban Forest Management Plan. It's to maintain and grow the urban forest, which is important to the community's character, health, and well-being. To have an urban forest that is made of native and climate tolerant trees that are healthy and safe and well cared for, and creating a resilient forest ecosystems to mitigate and adapt to climate change. So we first looked at different scenarios to establish a canopy cover target. So continuing status quo with what we are doing in present day, we would continue to lose canopy cover. We then looked at a scenario with integrating a few actions to help, and that's the minimal loss. So that's looking at more tree planting, but no other stricter regulations. The next scenario was looking at a no net loss. So this is the target that we chose. If we're at 51% as of 2021, we're looking at a no net loss or slightly more increase in canopy cover. So this is actually quite ambitious target to work towards in the next 15 years because we're still accounting for loss of trees due to climate impacts, redevelopment, and infrastructure needs. But it is accounting for, it is recognizing that we will continue to lose trees for these needs, but it's putting actions in place to compensate for this loss. So following this, the goals that we've established are to plan, protect, plant, manage, and partner. And under these various goals, we've outlined 59 actions on the short, medium, or long term. So these are actions that we would work to implement to maintain or grow our canopy cover, to protect our existing trees, to plant more trees, and to maximize the benefits of the urban forest. And the short-term actions were more ones that were staff and the consultant and the community members recognize as high priority to mitigate against the current reasons why we're losing trees right now. So just to go into the implementation framework, so this is where in the part of the plan where we identify each of the action items and the associated time frame, cost, and funding type and responsible department. This was where, so for example, if we're looking at a strategy to manage our existing trees on public lands, that would be under the manage goal. The strategy would be to proactively maintain our trees, and the action would be to develop a pruning cycle to maintain our existing trees so that they stay healthy and continue to grow and to provide our services that we need. For a time frame, we've determined the short-term actions are to address the loss of canopy that we're seeing on private property through development. They're to address the loss of trees on public property due to drought or hazard factors. And the long-term are more aligning this plan with developing new strategies in terms of maintaining biodiversity or pest management or more longer-term objectives. The cost factor outlines whether we could do this work with existing resources, with existing staff under our operational budgets, or for actions that will require additional budget or additional staff. Some of the actions are quite significant changes from current operations and services, so we would potentially need more staff or budget to implement. For these ones, we would need to come back to council at a later date with the proposed options. The fund time is whether it's a one-time funding initiative, so a project to help move the plan forward, or other ones that would be recurring annual cost, and those would be things whether we would need more staff to implement an action, and therefore the salary would be the recurring annual costs. So these are all identified in the plan. And then the responsible department. This plan was developed collaboratively across several of the departments at the West Van in the district. We worked quite closely with Parks on the public tree program, and then Mr. Bailey's department in planning as they do the private property tree work. So we're just identifying who would take the lead for each action. So that's how the plan is laid out. So to take you back, in September of 2023, Council approved the initiation or implementation of some of the actions within the plans. So these actions were completed or are in progress, recognizing that we didn't want to, the best planting time is in fall, and we didn't want to miss one more year of planting trees. So we initiated a school tree planting program. We worked with a couple of schools in the fall, and we'll continue to work with about 10 to 12 more in 2024. And this was where the district has provided trees to plant on school property with the objective that then the school would be responsible for the maintenance and survival of the trees. And so this helps the district. The ongoing resources required to maintain trees at such a young age is quite intensive, and this is an opportunity to grow the urban forest, but sharing the load of the resources and the maintenance requirements. So that helps us to achieve our target trees planted each year. We also worked with the Parks Department to expand our public tree planting program. So these are trees planted on district lands and parks and green spaces. The Parks Department does plant trees annually, but this helped to expand that program, plant more trees, as well as provide the funding to ensure the long-term maintenance of these young trees. We also started to inventory our trees on public property, so these are all district-owned trees. We did a GIS analysis to count the number of trees that are growing on public lands, and then from this we've identified trees to potentially look at proactively maintaining, and these would be trees in high-use parks and trails in our business improvement areas. So the next step of this process would be to actually go out and assess each of these trees for their condition and assessment in the present day so that we can build a database. And this is growing on the district's natural asset management program in terms of developing a natural asset database. So we're focusing on our urban forest right now. So this is ongoing work, and it helps the Parks Department better identify a potential proactive maintenance program on an annual basis. And then finally, we completed an updated tree species list. So right now in the tree bylaw, one of the appendix includes a list of trees that could be planted on private and public lands within West Vancouver. It was slightly outdated, and the intention was to update this list to ensure that we're recommending trees that are suitable to the present day and future climate, that identify whether they're provide good shading, that they're drought tolerance, that they're low flammability, and then their height at maturity. So the benefit is that it provides with each tree, you can look at what would be best suited for your property and for the area of your property. So this would help to address areas that are drier or have more shading, or where you would want to have more shade. But also, it helps to identify trees that would be not impact views necessarily of your neighbors, or impact infrastructure such as hydro lines. So you could look at the trees in those cases, look at trees that grow less than 7 meters in height, and help to still grow trees but not impact any of your neighbors or infrastructure. So that tree list can be posted to the website as a resource, but also be updated in the tree bylaw once we come forward with bylaw amendments, and also help with landscaping designs for new builds. And with that, I will stop sharing. I'm happy to answer questions. I just wanted to reiterate that should council approve and endorse this plan this evening, staff could begin to implement the actions that we could do with existing resources, but we would need to come back to council at a later date with proposals for implementing actions that require additional staff or budget, and those would come at a later date for consideration.
Ms. Keith, thanks so much, and thanks for all of your hard work on this important subject. There is almost nothing that attracts as much attention in the community as trees. Do we have any members of the public that have come this evening that wish to address council?
I have about 8 or 9 names on our list, Mayor Sager.
I don't want to discourage anyone, but I do believe that council will set aside an evening to focus on this, and we want to encourage as many people in the community to get a hold of this document. It is very comprehensive. We want to ensure there is wide community support for these actions. I'm sure many of you are like me when you drive through Stanley Park and you look at what's happened with all of the loss of tree cover, and you think, what is the plan going forward? I have no idea, but it's pretty dramatic. Members of council, may I invite the people that have come this evening to speak to council? Yes, please.
All right, Mayor Sager, the first person that signed up on our list is over WebEx, Cynthia Mon. So,
Ms. Mon, are you with us?
I'm just promoting her now. She should be able to unmute her microphone, turn on your camera if you wish. You have 3 minutes to address council.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
We'll see if we can turn your volume up a little bit. You come in as though you're speaking from the clouds here.
Sorry. Is that better now?
Yes, that's good. Thank you. Oh, now I'm too loud.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to the proposed urban forest management plan. My comments are specifically regarding and requesting the protection of riparian trees, as they are, quote, ecologically important assets, and we need to, quote, develop a strategy to protect and manage these features and the associated ecosystems they provide. As you know, if we cut the environmentally protected riparian trees and shrubs and grasses, according to biologists and riparian experts, the price will not only be the loss of all of the usual benefits that trees provide, but the price for cutting riparian trees will undoubtedly be paid by future generations in a lack of fish supply and wildlife. Page 2 of the Urban Forest Management Plan quotes West Van Policy 2.6.5, which says it will, quote, balance tree retention, replacement, or compensation for their ecological value with consideration to access to sunlight and significant public views, end quote. It does not delineate riparian trees with their special environmental protections from other trees. Since the Provincial Riparian Area Protection Act prohibits cutting healthy, quote, trees, shrubs, and grasses, end quote, in riparian areas for the very reason of preventing direct sunlight into the riparian areas, is the above West Van policy in direct conflict with the RAPR, or at least the views of the vast majority of West Vancouver residents to protect the environment? I believe it will also save West Vancouver time and money on riparian area issues to have the type of clear information like the City of Coquitlam's that I provided in an email earlier, communicated within West Vancouver District. This seems like a perfect opportunity in the Urban Forest Management Plan to once and for all give clear protection to the riparian areas. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks. And next, please.
Okay, Mayor Sager, the next name on the list for this item is Rainer Fassler, followed by Mary Gamal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening. My name is Rainer Fassler. I live at 1114 Mathers and have lived there for the past 54 years and had a good sense what happens to our urban forest. I would like to briefly talk about the protection of our urban forest and our trees, a resource that is not only crucial in our fight against climate change, as previous councils have recognized in their declaration of a climate crisis, but I believe it is also crucial in our fight to protect the very character and nature of our community, our green hillside. And even so, this issue has only generated very meager response from the community in recent engagements. General community support, however, over the past few years, because we've been watching this for over 10 years, has been about 50% support for doing something. The municipality's current approach, in my opinion, on this most important issue is amazingly timid and could potentially result in a series of quite ineffective bylaws when it comes to the protection of mature trees. So, Mr. Mayor and councils, this, I believe, is an opportunity to show courage and vision and demonstrate a progressive and clear vision for an ongoing protection of our urban forest, focused on mature trees. So I would like to make the following specific comments and suggestions. The document talks about considering. We have considered an improvement on the 75 centimeter diameter protection, which is a tree that exists not very often. You can look around your neighborhood and probably find them if you look hard. The majority of our trees are smaller. Therefore, the suggestion that we have a 20 centimeter diameter tree protection is essential. And I would really suggest that you take the word consider out and act on it and come up with a bylaw after all those years that departs from the 75 centimeters and puts the 20 centimeter firmly in place. Second, don't just protect trees on developing properties. There is a language in there that differentiates between developing properties and residential properties. If you don't protect the trees on the residential properties, then you don't have to worry about protecting trees on developing properties because they're gone. So to me, this is a logic. I would also suggest that this differentiation will ultimately create a great deal of confusion. What is a residential property and what is a developing property? I mean, people are thinking 5-10 years ahead. Maybe I'll sell this. Maybe if I sell it and took out all those big trees, the view would be even better. So there we have actually the thinking about development. So I would suggest be very careful with this word. Let's protect all the trees on residential property with a 20 centimeter diameter and larger protection.
Thank you,
So just because we are running out of time, and I anticipate we will have a full...
I have one more, I haven't
Absolutely.
even taken the 3 minutes. I have one more sentence here. And please don't allow cash in lieu or planting of new and small trees in place of preserving and protecting those trees. Because I tell you, the developers will love you. Those costs are nothing in the big picture. And have you got the staff to send them out there to see if this tree is planted properly, watered properly? Will it still be there a year from now, 2 years from now? No. Let's protect the trees we have and focus on that. So please, I would say, show some courage, some foresight in your actions, and most importantly, I think the next generations will thank you for that.
Thanks for your input very much, sir. Thank you.
The next speaker is Mary Gamel, followed by Therese Reinsch.
Hello. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Mary Gamel. I'm a member of the Urban Tree Alliance. I wish to address Strategy 5A of the Urban Forest Management Plan regarding the update of the tree bylaw. Over many years, the main culprit for loss of trees in West Vancouver has been redevelopment on private property. Therefore, I would strongly recommend that the word consider be removed and the strategy should read, that is, it is a requirement that all trees greater than 20 centimetres in diameter be protected on redevelopment lots. In addition, I strongly recommend that a mechanism be put in place to ensure that the bylaw is strongly enforced. The Urban Forest Management Plan states in the executive summary that it will take sustained effort from the district and all members of the community to protect existing trees if we are going to be able to maintain our present tree canopy. No exceptions were mentioned. However, we must also realize 60% of our tree canopy is on private property and at the moment has no protection. There is an urgency to enforce this strategy. As our climate rapidly changes, heat is probably going to be the greatest threat to us and the livability of our community. And this threat will be greater for our children and grandchildren. We need our trees. Secondly, I would also like to address the fact that there is no allocation in the budget for drought relief for boulevard trees, while at the same time costly new trees are being planted, which require large amounts of water in their early years and may or may not survive. Our boulevard trees are already serving us well with their cooling effects and ability to purify the air we breathe. They need to be nurtured throughout the year. Lastly, I hope that money has been allocated to provide water to the newly planted trees on school properties during the summer months when school is out, to ensure that they have the best chance of survival. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Therese Reinsch, followed by Elaine McHarg.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Your Worship, councillors. My name is Therese Reinsch. I live in West Vancouver. I am going to refer my remarks to the report to council on the agenda. Section 5.2, there is a reference to the loss of canopy cover concluded from a LIDA report between 2018 and 2021, as referenced by by Heather. A loss of 2% across the district, primarily due to land clearing for private property development, and in Westmount, which is my area, and it's ongoing. And of course, I can clearly see it. Part of the problem is the clearing for the Five Creeks Stormwater Flood Protection Plan, which I might mention at this point in time is a $6 million plus failing enterprise. Someone should undertake an objective assessment of this project and also contribute to the canopy loss of results of newly located neighborhoods such as Rogers Creek, and also there was vegetation clearing along the highway, which was mentioned. And also included in the same presentation is the same section are 6 items that might or should be addressed. The first is a recommendation to stabilize the tree canopy cover, and the second is a consideration of approaches to address canopy loss on private property. And we all know what to do. It is just that we are letting 99 responses to a survey impact correct decision making. The answer to number 2 is revealed in section 6.1 under analysis, which reads, actions such as bylaw changes to minimize, reduce, tree removals during redevelopment, which would also include private property. Again, the aging housing stock in the district and the high cost of land, these homes Most all soon will become a redevelopment project. We could save trees by adjusting front and yard setbacks, perhaps, or something that was discussed during the neighborhood character meetings, according to my notes. And also, as I mentioned, the Urban Forest Management Plan, saving trees by relocating driveways and ancillary buildings could also work. In the UTA's proposal document sent to the district, there was a recommendation of this. It's not quite working according to plans. So, yes, we should update this bylaw as it supersedes the tree bylaw in many ways. I have in other presentations to Mayor and Council pointed out that a number of BC scientists agree that ecological value of large trees cannot be replaced by planting of saplings, or the status quo reforestation strategy, as we call it. This is a myth in every sense of the word and is simply not backed by science or any evidence. Our short-term objective should be preserving trees 20 centimeters in diameter and larger, district-wide. However, tree planting, as mentioned in the Urban Forest Management Plan, can be useful in improving the distribution of ecosystem services and canopy cover in areas of the district that are in deficit position. But celebrate the areas that are contributing to and protect our canopy. Environmental stewardship, in which I include the Urban Tree Alliance, refers to actions and decisions that prioritize the conservation and enhancement of ecosystems and biodiversity, and perhaps most importantly, the interest of future generations, our children and our grandchildren. The UTA has moved forward on certain initiatives, including advocating for the environment, as we are doing this evening, participating in the district cultural fairs, participating in invasive clearing and planting in district plants, and our most recent project was trying to rehabilitate and save trees in a micro park at the corner of 31st and Travers, despite pressure from a development project next door. Applying our knowledge about the impacts of climate crisis, this requires flexibility and courage. On hands, a learning approach, and the willingness to discard outdated practices, not more of the status quo. I think that most of our elected officials acknowledge that we are facing a climate emergency, and we should just get on with mitigation. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. And could I suggest maybe leaving your notes, and anyone who wishes to, please ensure that you send in your thoughts.
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Say. The next speaker is Elaine McHargue, followed by Claudia van der Voort.
Thank you. Ms. McCard.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for opening for comments on this. In the spirit of your time management, though, I'm not going to go through a full list, just thinking that you may, in fact, have a more open forum later. But I do want to say that, first off, I'm resident of West Vancouver, and I have 4 members of our household, one of whom is an environmental scientist and a graduate of UBC Forestry. So urban forests are something that is a fairly common discussion in our home. I do want to stress the fact that there is urgency to having an executed and supported plan in the near term, and let's not push this along too far. I really do want to applaud the work of Heather Keith and of her department of bringing this forward, and the diligence that they have taken. The mindfulness of the environmental stewardship that she is looking at is very important. And I just want to stress that. I do want to say, though, that one of the things when we talk about urban forests is the whole area of water, and it's come up a couple of times already in comments. We have summer is coming, and we last year ran into the situation where we were in drought positions, and I'm just hoping that Council is looking forward to that with some action. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And Ms. Keith, your big department, I saw a little smile there. She's a department of 1. 2. Oh, 2.
The next speaker on our list is, pardon me.
Sorry.
Pardon me. The next speaker on our list is Claudia van der Voort, followed by Gary Perosnik.
Thank you, Ms. van der Voort. And this is the chair of our Environment Commission, and we're very grateful to you and your other members of the committee for your service to our community.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Claudia van der Voort. I live in West Vancouver. And the chair of the Environment Committee. So I will keep it very brief. I mean, in July already in 2023, when we presented this the first time, I mean, there were many speakers. We all know the benefits of the canopy cover. I'm not going to go into that. I just want to say I want to applaud on the amazing work of Ms. Keith. And we as the Environment Committee, we are dedicated to support the implementation of the Urban Forest Management Plan through our work plan that will be presented. We are prepared to collaborate and work closely with council, municipal staff and other stakeholders to ensure that the plan achieves its full potential and delivers the lasting benefits to our community.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mayor Sager, I've got two more names listed for this item. The next is Gary Porosnik, and the last is Lucinda Jones.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. President.
Yes, I spoke the last time in the summer, I believe, when the draft plan came forward, and I made some points that I don't see them. The plan hasn't changed. And my plan is that I love trees. I grew up with trees and with 12 big trees in my yard. So I respect trees. I have them in my yards here in West Vancouver, but I also know they're very dangerous. And so I've called the city several times about dangerous trees because they kill and they can maim. And so I think the priorities that I think are missing, the balance is missing, I think, is that I think we have to put safety and people really high on the list. And a lot of our trees are dangerous, and we don't realize it. And I found that out when I moved into West Vancouver, and one of my neighbors said, "You better check those trees." In fact, we had some big cedars, and they were literally that big. That much in the center was basically sawdust, and these trees were going to come down, and we had to take 3 down because they were rotten basically halfway through the stumps, the bases. And there's a lack of knowledge about the danger of trees, and the example I would give you is that we had a neighbor take down 4 trees with permits. 2 of them were dangerous, and I was talking to the neighbor for several years about it and said, look, the insurance is on you if there's a problem here. They were dangerous mostly to the intersection because they were just leaning right over. Part of the problem, trees, when they're in a clump, they got branches on one side. So they lean that way and they can literally come down in any kind of storm. Anyway, the permits were there and people were lining up on the street every day, and so the staff had to come down every day and say, look, we've given a permit, 2 of these are dangerous trees. I got so upset, I went and brought some of the people that were saying don't take the trees down and showed them the rot in the middle of these trees. So I think education is the big issue to get a balance of understanding of how dangerous these can be. The other thing is that with the drought, etc., one of the people I know personally is the person that dealt with the aftermath of the Kelowna fires 10 years ago, or whenever it was. And the break between our public forest and our developments, I don't think it's big enough. We're dealing with that issue right now in Gambier about the potential danger of forest fires, and it's going to increase. And there's no reason we can't have a Kelowna incident here or a Fort McMurray incident here, and there won't be enough firefighters around because you get 1 or 2 of those going on in the province or the Northwest Territories, there's no services because they're all going there. And so I think we have to really focus on the safety and people. And I take your comments about kids and grandkids, but we have not had development here for 50 years. In fact, most of our grandkids and children don't live here anymore, and they won't unless we start building cheaper housing.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Jones. Thank you for joining us this evening. Yes.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It has been a while.
Monday nights get busy, I guess. So firstly, I just want to thank everyone for their input, and I appreciate everyone's insight and various vital contribution. So I have just 3 points quickly. So my understanding at the time of the LIDAR studies was that sizable tracts of lands were actually not included in that, including, but maybe I'm mistaken, large development of the Cypress village that's being cleared, that was not actually included in LIDAR, which is critical because that is a huge mass of trees to not have the comparable of, they're gone now, and they were there before. And they are part of the development of West Vancouver that is part of our district. Cypress Village is not somewhere else, it's West Vancouver. So I think it was most unfair and a little slanted for that not to be included, to
Ms.
see
Jones,
that
can I
there's...
just check on that? Because I thought, Ms. Keith, it was included.
Canopy cover targets, well, it wasn't included in the LiDAR because there's been no tree clearing yet. So the LiDAR that was done in 2021 only captures the areas that were actually cleared at the time. But our projection of the canopy cover targets for the scenario that we selected included the removal of the trees for the proposed, or how Cypress Village will be proposed in terms of a smaller density area with the protection of Eagle Ridge. So we looked at the plans that Mr. Bailey's group was is currently working on, and we looked at the amount of trees that would be removed, and the actions in the plan account for that loss, and to still achieve the canopy cover target in 15 years.
Thanks, Ms. Jones.
Yeah, there was a lot of juggling, I think, with the numbers to come up with what ended up. And so in terms of the educational for residents and for those who come into the district to cut trees, what is the current operational format for education? Could you answer that? It was a long time ago when you were going to...
Mr. Bailey, do you...
Well, Mr. Mayor, I don't think it's necessarily appropriate that staff kind of get into our operational conversations. I mean, Ms. Jones can provide comments, and if council wishes to direct questions to us, we're happy to answer them. So.
I see. Ms. Jones, I think we're going to have an opportunity for a very full discussion on this.
Right. Okay. Because that's been a long time out, and I know that if people don't know, they move into the district, and unless there's some really helpful information so that people don't end up making drastic errors of judgment because where they came from, trees are cut down. And I totally support this 20 centimeter that, the Urban Tree Alliance has been, pushing for years. And, we really need the smaller trees that then will grow into the bigger trees. And if some bigger trees need to be taken down because they're dangerous, that only makes the 20 centimeter, 30, 40, 50 centimeter trees all the more important to maintain and not just be seen as throwaways because they're not right now 80 or 90 centimeters in diameter. And then, when I sat in the other day on the Environment Committee, I was asked to put forward the information I had when I was questioning the Five Creek diversion project and the 5-foot diameter pipe that was being shoved down the hillside underneath the highway, etc.
That's time, then.
Thank you. So I have that. For a starter, it's a starting point, so maybe I'll make one available to council, and I have one for Claudia Vander Vorm, because I was, I actually had to push back against an injunction that was made against me in relation to that 5-foot pipe. And, as we all know, it's now 2.5-foot pipes because it was crazy and the highway collapsed over top of it. So I just encourage staff and the committees to really investigate further people who contribute and not just write things off too quickly, because there's been a lot of millions of dollars spent in that correction that didn't have to be, because the idea of all that water being whooshed down the creeks into the sea when it should be captured for forest fire, immediately a water source to put out forest fires instead of at the height of a drought season draining absolutely the Capilano Dam.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Thank you. And you're going to leave your notes with our corporate officer. Thanks very much. I see Councillor Gambioli has her microphone, but I'm wondering if we could just get a motion on the table first. Would that be all right? And then
I got a
discussion?
whole bunch of questions before.
Oh, questions first?
I got a whole bunch of questions
Sure.
that haven't been asked yet, so we can do them after we make a motion, if you like.
Either way.
Okay.
Councillor
So,
Gambioli.
okay. Well, I'll start with questions and then I'll make a motion. So just a few questions for staff. Your presentation showed that you've been working on this this plan for 2.5 years. And I note that although not everyone has been part of it, because they haven't been involved for that long, there have been 2 quite comprehensive public engagement portions of this study, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And I just wanted to confirm that you have not been doing any, quote, juggling of numbers.
I don't think we need to ask Ms. Keith to answer that.
I think that that you've had a consultant who's a professional in the field that is accurately portraying the numbers. So just wanted to confirm that. So the numbers, though, look at the LIDAR studies between 2018 and 2021. So that's already 3 years old at the tail end. And, most of us have seen Stanley Park lately. Do those studies, the LIDAR studies, have we taken into account the loss of further vegetation related to the looper moth and the drought that we've been experiencing in the last 3 years?
Ms. Keith?
So through the mayor to Councillor Gambioli, the new technology that the consultant uses for analysis of canopy cover actually has the ability to identify dead trees or dying trees. And so we have the ability to look now at swaths of trees that may be dying due to looper moth or drought, and this can help us. So they are recommending that we do the tree canopy cover monitoring every 5 years, and so the next 2021, so that would be 2026 to relook at it, and then we would have the ability to identify large trees that are dead, and then we could manage those from a risk perspective. So there is that improved technology with the LIDAR data now.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just, I fear that that we're already way behind that 2% decrease anyway. But the report, I think the plan is fantastic and ambitious, as you say, the vision, the targets, the goals and actions, very ambitious. And I wonder about, though, the 20-centimeter tree issue that a number of people have brought up. Could staff explain, why that's not part of it and what the implications are?
Through the mayor to Councillor Gambioli. So we observed the most canopy cover loss on developing properties. So that was the first phase of considering lowering the tree protection size to address that. In order to implement that type of bylaw update would require additional staff to implement that. And so that's a consideration. And then the plan also contemplates considering further tree protections in neighborhoods where we're seeing a lower tree canopy, so that could be considered at a later date. So for example, the Ambleside area, we're seeing a lower tree canopy, and so you could consider applying a lower tree protection size for those areas. The additional resources required is significant to address that type of thing, and as we're only really seeing a loss of canopy cover due to real development, that's where we're focusing the actions rather than every existing property. That doesn't mean we can't review again and determine whether that's making any change. I will say that it's recommended to not only consider lowering the tree protection size, but looking at other mechanisms on private property, such as landscaping or zoning requirements, as one of the members of the public looked at, having greater oversight over locations of driveways or ancillary buildings to reduce tree loss. We do have that type of mechanism in the current tree bylaw, but we could work to improve that. So that the design of houses up front could consider the location of driveways and other units to avoid tree loss. So there's other types of mechanisms in addition to the tree protection size to try to minimize the tree removals, but we were focusing where we were seeing most of the tree canopy loss.
Okay, so basically to save trees that are smaller, we need to hire a lot more staff and we need to increase taxes. So that's the answer. That's my interpretation of your answer.
I mean, to effectively implement a bylaw that requires enforcement, follow-up, staff oversight, inspections, you do need to increase staff, yes.
So anyway, that's just an answer to some of the comments that have been made. I note that one of our speakers talked about dangerous trees. Does staff have any response to those comments?
Through the mayor, we do have, I mean, the tree bylaw allows for tree removals if they're hazardous. We definitely recognize that that is an issue, particularly in the areas of the district where there's a higher tree density out to the west. We recognize, certainly Mr. Bailey can speak to this as he manages the tree permitting. We receive many tree applications of hazard trees or trees of concern. Mr. Bailey can speak to this more, but we do take a conservative approach. We recognize that there is concerns of hazardous trees. We do value the input of arborists to assess trees. The resident is correct in that it's not always noticeable from the outside of a tree that it is rotted inside or hazardous. So that's why we do rely on the arborist reports. And if a tree is assessed as hazardous, it can be removed. There's also a component of the tree bylaw that recognizes that fire hazards is also something to consider. And, we are supporting residents in needing to remove hazard trees. And I would say that the plan accounts for the fact that trees will be lost due to diseases such as the lubber moth or fire hazard risk and that sort of stuff. It does account for those challenges and as providing actions to compensate for those continued loss.
Thanks very
And
much.
my last question.
Thank you.
Is what would staff say are the implications of delaying approval of this forest management plan?
I think there's quite a few short-term actions that staff could begin to implement using existing resources, and a lot of those focus around partnering with stewardship groups and schools to further work and collaborate on public tree maintenance and that sort of thing. We have a couple of strategies and approaches and programs that could work to help involve the community in the oversight of our public trees. It's also, there's a lot of actions related to providing further education, improving our resources that we provide to both building permit applicants, landscaping requirements, that sort of thing that we could work towards to, as Ms. Jones indicated, provide better education and knowledge to the community members so that they can recognize the importance of trees. So those things I know with the Environment Committee are keen to start working on and move forward with. And really reviewing the potential bylaw amendments for a council consideration and really having staff work through how that could work logistically.
Thank you, Ms. Keith.
A delay will delay tree planting bylaws and
Councillor Gambioli, sorry,
all the other parts.
maybe a little confusion
Okay.
on my suggestion. I'm not suggesting we delay approval. I'm suggesting that we go to the public and we ask. There's 91 recommendations in this report. There is a lot of meat. There's a lot of things which I would encourage everyone in the community to read and think about. And then we have to prioritize because, as you said, certain actions have budget implications, and we know the responses we get from that. So I think an opportunity for a really fulsome discussion over all of the items in this are worthy of consideration. The word consider does appear a lot. Which are the ones that we should consider or do first?
Okay, so I'll make the motion.
No, Councillor Thompson's going to make the motion.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, I thought I was making the motion.
No, that's okay. Councillor Thompson?
Thank you. I'd like to recommend that the Urban Forest Management Plan attached as Appendix A to the report dated March 1st, 2024, titled Urban Forest Management Plan be approved.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Is there any discussion?
I'd just like to reinforce what the mayor's pointed out. You know, it's clear that there is some discussion needed from both sides further. I think this is a really important piece of work that has been done and needs to be implemented. But there's still room for further discussion. And like you said, a lot of this context of consider is around our own budgetary matters. But I'm very pleased to move the project forward, if council wills.
Thank you. No, I just think that we've got this incredible piece of work that's been done by Ms. Keith. It needs wide circulation, and it needs community input on the top priorities. And it is only with that we will then know where we increase funding, if that's what the wishes of the community. Councillor Watt has laryngitis, so I'm looking at her to see if she wants to speak, but she can't. Sorry. Okay, I'll call the question on the first. All those in favor? Sorry, Councillor Cassidy.
I have a question.
Thank you.
So a point of clarity. So the recommendation number 1 is we would be approving this plan and that lovely academic exercise and excellent work, and thank you, Ms. Keith. So that's it, would be just accepting the plan. We would be doing nothing further than accepting the plan. And number 2 would be request support of funding as part of the annual budget process for the next 15 years,
So
which would be...
The recommendation, at least my suggestion to council, is that we take the plan and then we put it out to the public. We make sure everyone has an opportunity to read it, and then we have a much less formal meeting than this, where people can offer comments, suggestions, recommendations as to where the priorities lie.
Yes, sorry, that was my understanding. So it's simply that all we're going to be doing is approving the plan that as it has been presented to us this evening. And we are not in any way encouraging any funding for this plan to be implemented.
Not without the full community's engagement sometime, and I'm going to suggest in the next 60 days, so that we can prioritize or help prioritize for staff which things get the attention first.
Okay.
That's my thought.
Good. So
and that's just my thought.
Great. And so could you please provide some clarity around the second part, which would be into annual work plans and request supportive funding? All right.
Let's just call a question on the first.
Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Watt.
Why would we not just receive it for information if we're going to be looking for this kind of input?
Well, I think we want to send it out to the community. I've got the motion from Councillor Thompson, so. Sorry, Councillor Cassidy.
My preference is, and my understanding was, that we were going to be receiving these materials for information purposes only, and then we were going to go to the community for a fuller discussion on the subject.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Call the question. I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary? Councillors Watt and Cassidy opposed. On the second recommendation, I would suggest that we invite the community to some kind of community forum in the next 60 days to discuss the plan in greater detail, and from that, we then work on the annual work plans.
So I'll add that at the end of the motion. Do I need to add that to the end of the motion formally?
Councillor
Okay.
Gambioli?
I think staff are probably quite confused by what you just said. So I'm just wanting to understand that staff have an understanding of what you're saying, because the motion that's recommended says that we would support funding. We would, yes, support recommendations for funding over the next 15 years, because as the report said, we cannot get to our goal unless the plan is funded. So I think staff are probably quite confused about what you're saying and how that's going to get us to any part of this plan being implemented in any staff's work plans for the rest of this year.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey.
Sure, Mr. Mayor, I think what staff would recommend, if the sort of the will of council, of mayor and council, is to have that further meeting to kind of go out to the public and have a less formal meeting, that council should pass a motion accordingly, directing that would be very helpful for us. Once we hear what the public wants to say from that meeting, we would then report back on the motion in terms of work plans and supportive funding moving forward. But if that's your intention to kind of broadly do a little more consultation on that, then I think it's important that you say that. What we would be doing, the way that the motion is written, is just coming back to you with those work plans and supportive funding asks as part of the annual budget request. So if that's not your intention,
I think I understand that. I just think that if we're going to get the community engaged and supportive of our actions, I think the wider the circulation, the more people buy into the plan, the more successful it's likely to be. That's just my thoughts, and it is of course up to members of council. Councillor Thompson.
I guess the one, and I do defer to staff, but when I read the second part of the recommendation, that just seems like that's a natural will happen regardless. So to move it is fine, and we could either add at the end of that.
Sure. I'd like to do that too.
I mean, that's what makes sense to me. I don't know, do you agree with that, Councillor Lambert?
It is sort of the natural progress of things, and I mean, of course, they're going to go ahead and plan on the basis of the plan as it's presented and work towards annual budget things that we're tripping over ourselves here. In a way, this doesn't even need to be said.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to be developing plans, recommendations every year in line with budget allocations and adjusting priorities along the way. That's really what it says. I don't see how there could be any argument with that basic principle.
Okay, then with that, shall I make that motion? I'll recommend that staff be directed to incorporate the recommendations in the Urban Forest Management Plan into an annual work plan and request supportive funding as part of an annual budget process for the next 15 years, as well as move ahead with planning a public work session for further community discussion.
Yeah, I just think we only benefit by getting more input from the public, and I realize it takes council's time, but I think it's important to get people involved and understand, get input on what are the priorities. Thank you, Councillor Gambioli.
I'll second the motion, and it also, I just note that it also takes a fair amount of staff time and costs to organize public meetings like that, so.
Well, that is true. It takes time, takes energy. Sorry, Councillor Cassidy.
So my reading of the situation is that in essence you have given tacit approval for this to be worked into an annual work plan and requesting funds. So in essence you have approved the plan. So going out to the public is merely a sense of tokenism. So I say we've got the cart backwards. We should go out to the public first of all and get their feedback, get their input, get them educated on the subject, and then we come back and ask it to be implemented into an annual work plan, and then we ask for funding. We are doing this backwards. And because we're doing it backwards, you don't have my support. If we were doing it in the correct order, I'm completely supportive. But I'm not going to put something out to the public who I do believe in public consultation. I don't think it's a waste of time, and I don't think it's a waste of money. So the public needs to be consulted, the public needs to be educated, because this is a big deal. And then we come back and we ask for the money. If you don't have public support on the whole issue, you may as well throw the baby out with the bathwater.
But Councillor Cassidy, the request is for supportive funding on the basis of an annual budget, which of course council determines what the annual budget is. In any event, I just think it's worthwhile getting the community as involved on that as much as possible. Councillor Watt.
I just wanted to say that I agree with Councillor Cassidy on that, with my limited words.
Thank you. Sorry, your microphone's not on. Councillor Cassidy.
You are giving tacit approval right here and right now for this going to annual budgets and work plans and so forth, and you haven't even heard from the public whose money is going to be paying for this plan. The public needs to be educated, so the public needs to know what they're going to be doing on their private lands. And right now we have a group of, 40 people and who knows who else out there in the public. I think you're doing it in the wrong order.
Thank you, Councillor Cassidy. Councillor Gambioli.
Well, my last comment will just be to repeat that we're not doing it in the wrong order. We started 2.5 years ago with a lot of input from the public. We started to create the plan. We then went back to the public a second time and refined all of these policies and the entire plan. And just because you weren't involved for all that time, sorry, but we can't, force everyone to read it. The public has been acknowledged and involved for the past 2.5 years, some of whom are here tonight supporting the plan, the environment, our own environment committee, and the public has been involved a lot.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
I stand by my motion.
Okay. So we'll call any further discussion? I'll call a question. All in favor? Contrary? Councillors Watt and Cassidy opposed. Thank you. We'll move to item 6. Councillor Cassidy.
Okay. I recommend that the 2024 council meeting schedule be amended by 1, cancelling the April 15th, 2024 regular council meeting, and 2, scheduling a regular council meeting for April the 29th, 2024 to be held at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Hall Council Chamber and via electronic communication facilities. Thank you.
Councillor Watt. Second. Call a question. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. Item number 7. Councillor Gambioli.
You want me to put the motion on the floor?
Yes, please. I mean, there's
okay.
What we're doing tonight, and
Yep.
I'm sorry if anyone came tonight hoping to speak to this. The municipal policy is you can't speak to the setting of a public hearing.
We can have questions after I put the motion on the floor. Questions for staff? Sure. You know I love questions. Okay. I will recommend that proposed zoning bylaw number 4662, 2010, amendment bylaw number 5325, 2024, be read a first time.
Thank you. Councillor Snyder, seconded. Discussion.
Oh, no discussion. Okay.
Councillor Lambert.
Okay. Some comments on this, and I suppose a question through you, Mr. Mayor, to our planning department. Can you explain a little more fully or succinctly the rationale behind the 3.0 FAR allowance in the zoning bylaw amendment?
Thank you. Mr. Hawkins.
Through your worship to Councillor Lambler. So very specifically, we're responding to a motion that Council introduced, I believe, 2 Mondays ago. So that set the parameters, and then to briefly describe the approach, I think the intent is to reintroduce something Council considered last fall, which would be that there be a floor within the zone of 2 FAR, but for rental only purposes, and that additional 1 FAR increment to make it 3 FAR would be the bonus, and it would be through that bonus that Council could achieve the various forms of tenant assistance, be they relocation options, be they moving fees, be they financial compensation, that incremental 1 FAR is the mechanism to secure that, and then it all get covenanted on title. So I'm not sure if that answers Councillor Lambert's question.
Well, yes, I think it does, but in terms of the rationale for that, I mean, 3.0 as opposed to an additional 1.5 or 2, and again, the various uses of it. Some of the correspondence I've been getting has taken the additional density to be applied to new buildings and creating either new strata or new rental units on existing sites, and with the corresponding concern about additional bulk and density, view blockages, etc., sort of urban design concerns.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey?
So, I mean, and just to be clear, though, and I think, and so the public's aware too, the 3.0, the rationale for it is it was council that directed us to do 3.0. Like, that was it. It was your motion. Council directed us to do that. We're responding to what you asked.
Okay, well, it wasn't mine, but okay, so you don't really have a rationale, but I get that. So, I mean, the objectives of this really, I think, are twofold. We're trying to renew and grow the rental housing stock. That's one thing we're trying to do. And the other thing that we're trying to do here is offer security of tenure, particularly for lower income renters. Those are the two things that we're trying to do. So I think that, you know, although this zoning amendment is well-intentioned and in many ways a good start, it's a little bit premature. The upzoning, if you want to call it that, to 3.0 to help accomplish some of those goals, to me, it needs more study. I need to be more satisfied that it's an economically defensible figure, and also what the urban design implications might be. And also the tenant relocation policy, or the portion that's embedded in the zoning bylaw amendment, I think needs more work. It's a good start again. There are lots of municipalities that have rental zoning policies, and the city of North Van, I think I've cited it before, has, I think, a particularly good one that we might use, and I would be certainly open to meeting with various stakeholders to help develop that rental housing or that rental protection policy further. And another thing that we haven't talked about that I think is critical to make this whole thing work is an inclusionary housing policy. So we have one kind of informally, but I really think we should have a formal one if we're serious about protecting our rental housing stock, because it's only through an inclusionary housing policy that we're actually going to be able to build new housing stock that will help us keep, maintain, and grow our rental housing stock, both market and non-market. So, you know, for those reasons, I think there's more work to do. I do think it's premature to take it forward to a public hearing at this point. I won't be supporting this particular motion.
Thank you. Councillor Gambioli.
So a couple questions for staff. There's a flurry of emails that arrived in my inbox this morning, because I tried not to look at it on the weekend. And I was really disappointed to see a missive from the Ambleside Dunderave Ratepayers Association, which was highly misleading. And I just would like staff to comment, because I think there's a lot of confused people out there as a result of that missive, which conflated the issue of CACs with this 3.0 FAR. So could staff just comment on that, which I forwarded to you earlier?
And through the Mayor to Councillor Gambioli, it might be helpful for staff and just for the public to maybe, if you could outline the points of concern that were raised in that email.
Well, the main concern that I was concerned with is that it purported that the district was going to be losing $50 million in CACs by instituting this policy. And I really believe that was a huge mathematical error in that there would be 2,000 new units that would be created, and that we would no longer be getting any CACs as a result of this strategy that we're pursuing.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Councillor Gambioli. So based on Council's direction 2 weeks ago, which was to provide a zone of up to 3 FAR to secure various benefits on behalf of existing tenants, once it's in a zone, philosophically, the CAC, if you like, the value created through that additional FAR is provided to tenants. And my understanding of the issue was precisely that Council is looking for some kind of middle path, having not wanted to zone for tenure at 2 FAR, based on not wanting there to be a down zoning or for it to be punitive to landowners, that should we go this route, we might be able to thread the needle, so to speak, that we can provide that base zoning for renters, and the additional value created is essentially, philosophically, the CAC, if you like, is the bonus that is being directed towards supporting our existing tenants, many of whom are on fixed incomes, many of whom are seniors, based on both the age of the building and the demographics. So I wouldn't say we're foregoing CACs, but once we're pre-zoning, essentially, should council proceed with this, then staff's responsibility, based on council's direction, is to capture that value towards a public interest, which in this case is very much the existing tenants of those 30 buildings.
Thank you. And there was also a flurry of emails from people living in these buildings who are tenants who were concerned that perhaps the relocation policy that is attached was not enough. And I just wanted to clarify that going to public hearing on April 8th, which is the next recommendation, doesn't mean that we can't amend the what's proposed in that section right now, because it doesn't deal with the use and density of the proposal. Am I right?
Through your worship, no, I would recommend a more conservative interpretation there, because it's a bonus density zone.
Okay.
It is a question of density, because the conditions of that additional density are the kinds of things that Councillor Gambioli, you're referring to. So I would recommend a conservative approach. If there's something council would wish to amend, then staff's advice would be to do so now. But staff did review other local government approaches. Councillor Lambert referenced one. So the City of North Van provides 4 months' rent, which is something that West Van is recommending. A tenant relocation coordinator providing up to 3 alternative solutions, something we're recommending. The key material difference is that the City of North Van and all other local governments use rezoning. So it's a policy, and then they can negotiate through the rezoning process. So if there are any non-market rental units provided in the rezoning in City of North Van, then they can try to get non-market rents back for existing tenants. But that isn't something that is available to West Vancouver Council based on the direction that's being provided. That would actually be similar to something that was defeated last fall, where it's case by case. But at the time, there was concerns that that would be sort of pushing to the future spot rezoning. So, again, responding to discussion and decisions at the time, we have looked at best practices, and should we proceed to public hearing, I'd be happy to summarize at that time how we compare to other municipalities. But I think the short version is those in the Lower Mainland that are more generous would be a place like Burnaby. The difference is Burnaby's policy applies to 80 stories, 80-story buildings. I don't feel I have license. I haven't heard from council or the community that we're looking for 80-story buildings. It's nothing I've thought of. It's nothing I'd wish to recommend. So where we're restrained, it is reflecting the reality that council set the envelope with 3 FAR. I believe that's based on your understanding of the community. Existing forms, we believe we can achieve that. We're recommending achieving that without any increase in height. So really we're trying to do that, find that balanced ground between something which provides very clear certainty. It's right in the zoning bylaw. It's not negotiated through rezoning. Within a form of development that does reflect context, while securing everything which we think is reasonably feasible within that density on behalf of our tenants.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to follow up on that, just for the public as well, and David just said it, but I want to reiterate this, is that this isn't just a policy. The tenant protection, it's not just policy. The tenant protection plan, it's actually built right into the zoning bylaw, secured by a covenant. So it's not something that's a nice to have where we're negotiating with the developer when they come in to redevelop their property. It's if you would like to redevelop, you must do those things, and that's spelled out in the bylaw. And then you must secure that through a covenant, and then we have enforcement mechanisms to deal with that moving forward. So that should be, I think, comfort to the folks that we're trying to protect and the renters in the community. So just so that's really clear.
Thank you. Councillor Snyder.
Yes, thank you. So I do think that we all can agree that it was a well-intended bylaw. I mean, obviously, the protection of our rental pool is what was key when this bylaw was proposed. At least from my perspective, that was the intent of it. I do have just a couple of questions. You did clarify something for me right now, which I was unaware of. I also was under the impression that should this bylaw be passed this evening, that the relocation policy could still be tweaked moving forward after the public hearing, where new information or the public has further opportunity to expand. So that does cause me some concern that I wasn't aware of coming into this evening. I do have a question for you, though, in regards to CACs on developments that are still, this does not preclude a developer or an owner from coming forward with a further proposal that is above and beyond a 3.0, and should that be the case and it be approved by council, there would still be CACs at that stage. Is that correct?
Through your worship, that's absolutely correct. It's true for any site. There is always the opportunity for any landowner to apply for a rezoning. Council, so that's true for any site. It would also be true for these 30, at which point that's when council can negotiate something which they think makes sense, which could include financial contributions, it could include further rent subsidies, it could include any number of things, but that would always be a site-specific decision of council. And that's true for this zoning bylaw and for all of your zoning bylaws.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to suggest to members of council, because there is, I think, unfortunately, in the last week, there's been a lot of information out there that needs clarification. I also think we need to separate the 2 FSR for the strata buildings from the rental protection so that there's no confusion over that. And we really have to get on with that. The 2 FSR change just helps people that have enclosed their balconies. And this has been an ongoing problem in this community for years. We can take care of that. Literally, nobody's going to come out in opposition to that. And I think if we were to table this off to our next meeting, it would give us a chance to clarify some of the confusion that's in the community. But I think there are some of us, most of us, I hope, who are really quite intent on making sure that we don't have the rent eviction problem take place in West Vancouver. So, Councillor Cassidy?
So, Mayor Sager, in the course of the next while, you will be consulting with the stakeholder groups,
yes.
Not the Ambleside Drape Ratepayers Association. About 5 years ago, they changed it to Residents Association, and the tenancy group that have come forward, and the stakeholders and so forth, because this is an extremely big move. If, technically speaking, you're looking at providing the opportunity for 7,000 to 8,000 more people moving into the Ambleside apartment zone, as some of the materials that I've read have indicated.
But Councillor Cassidy, the reality is there's probably not a single building in this community that will be redeveloped at a 3 FSR.
Well,
it's just that. But I think rather than debate that tonight, the goal here is to secure tenancies and find a fair balance. And if it needs more work, then let's do more work.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask Councillor Lambert if he would entertain a tabling motion. We did. Oh.
There is a motion on the floor, Mayor.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Okay, well, sorry, Councillor Snyder.
At this stage, I would be prepared to withdraw being a seconder of the proposal.
Well, I just want people to understand that we are going to continue to work on this, and my goal is to find some way that we can come to a unanimous agreement and do that. So I
apologize, Mayor Sager. The motion was seconded for it to be withdrawn. Both the mover and seconder have to agree to withdraw it. It's on the floor.
Okay.
Correct. I apologize.
Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And I'm in favor. Contrary, the motion fails, and we will just work on bringing this.
I apologize, Mayor Sager. I only saw 3 hands go up in opposition. Oh, 4. 1, 2, 3. Oh, 5. Thank you very much.
Okay. We will continue to try and find some answer that will work. So please don't give up hope. Yes. Item number 8, proposed official community plan amendment rezoning, Councillor Gambioli.
Okay. Is there I think there's a
Is there a
presentation.
presentation?
Yeah, there's going to
Thank
be
you.
a couple
Ms. McGuire.
presentations, I suspect.
And again, this item is simply to set a date.
Yeah, depends. No, I think it can.
I think my mic's on now, is that right?
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, members of the public. For consideration tonight is proposed, I'll just make that full screen. It's a proposed zoning amendment and development permit for a 36-unit housing development in the Eagle Harbor area. Here you can see the site outlined in purple on the aerial image there. As I said, it's within the Eagle Harbor neighborhood. The site size is quite large. It's approximately 4.5 acres in size, and it's currently undeveloped. The site is zoned RS10 and is surrounded by single-family homes in the area. Currently, the site has 2 access points, one on Daffodil Drive and one on Westport Road. The site was previously approved by council for a development permit that would allow the site to be subdivided into 10 parcels for single-family homes under the existing zoning. So the site hasn't yet been subdivided, but the approved development permit would allow for that subdivision to occur. The applicant has let us know that if council was to not approve the current proposal before council's consideration tonight, that they would proceed with the 10-lot subdivision. And then also I wanted to note that you can see the site to the north is highlighted there. The development applicant also owns that site for 5665 Daffodil. And there is a development permit that's been submitted that would allow for subdivision of that site into 3 parcels. Because access is required to come through the subject parcel, that site wouldn't proceed until a decision is made on the current development proposal or the 10-lot subdivision proceeds. You can see the 2 parcels there on the map. So the proposal is to rezone the site from the existing zoning RS10 to a new comprehensive development zone to allow for the 36 proposed housing units. The 36 units are proposed to be split up into 34 duplex units in 17 buildings, and then
Sorry, that's 17 duplex buildings?
17 duplex buildings with 2 units each.
2 units.
Yeah. And additionally 2 single-family houses as well. There's also an official community plan or OCP amendment that's proposed, and what that would do is it's something that's fairly standard practice for the district, where you have a development like this one, where it's for multifamily housing. And basically what it does is it just puts the development site within a development permit area, and then that allows council to control the form and character and the design of the overall site through that development permit. Here you can see a site plan showing the proposed housing development and how the houses are configured and the access there. The proposal is to strata title the housing development if council was to approve the project. You can see that there are still 2 access points proposed. So one from Daffodil Drive that accesses internal roads that would access the western housing units. And then one from Westport Road that also accesses an internal road that accesses the eastern units that are along the eastern edge of the site there. Also proposed as part of the overall development, there's 2 existing water courses on the site. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen there's an existing unnamed seasonal tributary along that edge of the site. And then also there's a portion of Eagle Creek along the southern edge of the site, and then an existing wetland area. So as part of the overall proposal, there would be creek and wetland protection and enhancement. As well, also proposed with the development to allow for pedestrian access from Westport to Daffodil Drive. There's a pedestrian pathway that would be proposed to be constructed on the southern edge of the property. Sorry, just one sec. So just on the top of the screen, you can see a rendering of some of the proposed housing units. So as I said, the proposed zoning bylaw, that would control the number of units, the overall density, site coverage, and then the official community plan amendment would allow for the development permit that would control the form and character and the overall design of the project. Just noting that the housing units are proposed to range in size from approximately 2,200 square feet up to 4,000 square feet. And that's in contrast to the approved 10-lot subdivision that would result in larger homes. And for that 10-lot subdivision, also of note, just to note that for each lot, you could also have a secondary suite and a coach house for a total potential number of units of 30, as opposed to the 36 smaller infill units that are proposed. Here you can see another rendering of some of the housing units towards the center of the site. The applicant has proposed a mix of unit sizes and designs with complementary materials so that the overall design approach doesn't present as more of a cookie cutter approach, but rather sort of families of buildings that have common materials and work together, but aren't overly similar to amongst themselves. The Design Review Committee, or DRC, did review the project and supported the proposal with recommendations for minor adjustments that the applicant responded to. And then in terms of transportation, the applicant did submit a transportation study, and staff reviewed and accepted the findings of that study. The study recommended a number of transportation improvements, and those would be required to be delivered or paid for by the applicant if council was to approve the project. So that includes things like improving vehicle sight lines, improved speed limit signage, street lighting, delivery vehicle lay-by installation, as well as installation of a three-way stop at Daffodil Drive. And then further from the site at Marine Drive in Cranley, there's also a flashing pedestrian light that's proposed to be installed by the developer. And then just in terms of parking for the overall site, there's 2 vehicle stalls proposed for each housing unit, and then 10 additional visitor stalls that would be proposed all within the site. And in terms of relevant policy considerations, staff reviewed the project against ground-oriented housing policies in the official community plan. You can see the 2 specific policy directions there on the screen. Policy 2.1.4 allows consideration of ground-oriented housing projects in the Marine Drive corridor. And then for policy 2.17, it has a range of specific criteria, including a maximum of 3-story building height. And generally speaking, staff feel that the project is generally aligned with the 2 policy directions there and is generally consistent with those. And just continuing with the relevant policy, the project also responds to Council's sustainable buildings policy, and all of the houses would be required to meet step 5 of the BC Energy Step Code. That would exceed the minimum requirement in the building bylaw. And finally, in terms of potential community amenity contribution, we did hire a third-party financial analyst, as we typically do for rezoning applications. In this case, the analysis found that there wouldn't be a cash community amenity contribution that would be applicable. However, it's just worth noting that the applicant would be required to pay for all transportation upgrades that I mentioned, the wetland and creek enhancement and protection, parkland dedication, constructing the pedestrian pathway, as well as the pedestrian crossing upgrades at Marine Drive and Cranley Drive. And then in terms of public consultation, before submitting the formal application, the applicant did host 2 neighborhood meetings some time ago in 2020 now. And through that process, the application had been revised a number of times to respond to community feedback. And then once the application was formally submitted, the applicant then again hosted another meeting last year. And there has been a fair amount of feedback that council and staff and the applicant has received. And there is a report summary that was provided by the applicant that's included in the staff report, the very last appendix of our very, very long report. And generally speaking, though, I would say that in reviewing the feedback, the concerns that were raised have been pretty consistent throughout the public consultation process. One concern that the project isn't consistent with official community plan policy, traffic concerns, slope stability, stormwater management, and environmental concerns. And finally, concerns about privacy to do with overlook and privacy issues for existing houses surrounding the site, specifically with a focus on houses on Cranley Drive. And just in terms of responding to those concerns, as I said, staff have reviewed the project against the relevant OCP policies. And in our opinion, this project is generally consistent and aligned with the relevant policies for ground-oriented housing. As well, I spoke to the traffic concerns. The applicant has submitted a transportation report to staff satisfaction, and there would be a number of transportation improvements that would be delivered as part of the project. In terms of slope stability, the applicant has submitted a geotechnical report, and the proposed development permit does deal with that aspect of the site, the steep slope nature of the site, noting that there would still be further technical work to be done at the next stage if council did approve the project. And then in terms of stormwater management, during the building permit stage, if it proceeds, they would be required to submit stormwater management plans to meet all district requirements. And finally, and this is worth noting, the site is subject to wildfire and creek development permit areas. And so there would be subsequent development permits that would be necessary at the next stage if it moved forward. And so those would include creek protection and wildfire management aspects of the project, and those would be secured through that delegated development permit that would happen at the next stage. And finally, in terms of overlook and privacy issues, the applicant did revise the homes that are proposed closest to Cranley Drive to reduce the size, the height, and the massing of those homes to respond to concerns. And then also included in the development package, there are view studies that are shown that show that there are existing trees that would buffer that potential view between the existing Cranley homes and the new homes that are proposed, and noting that additional trees are proposed to be planted in that area to further screen that area. So to conclude, staff are recommending that council give first reading to the proposed zoning and official community plan amendment bylaws and set the date for public hearing, which is proposed for April 22nd, as the project is generally consistent in staff's opinion with relevant official community plan policies that support missing middle and ground-oriented housing, and generally because the project would allow for 36 smaller infill housing units rather than 10 larger homes on the existing site. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
For
McGuire.
bearing with me for a long presentation. The applicant team is here, just so you know, Mr. Mayor,
Thank you.
just in case you had any questions for them.
Thanks
as well.
very much. Just wait for Councillor Watt to rejoin us. The issue tonight, though, is not the development. It is the issue tonight the council must vote on is sending it to a public hearing. And I would just remind members of council that the public hearing process does require members of council to come with an open mind. We do sit in a quasi-judicial manner. And so I would ask tonight that any discussion be around the setting of the public hearing and not on the merits of what we may hear, because I don't want anyone who, should the public hearing be set, I want to ensure that everyone who comes will be heard with an open mind. With that, Councillor Snyder. I'm sorry, but we need a motion on the floor to have some discussion.
No.
Councillor Gambioli?
You want to do questions later?
Yes, but I think we should
okay.
speak to a motion.
Sure, I will recommend that the opportunities for consultation on the proposed OCP amendment with persons, organizations, and authorities as outlined in the February 28, 2024 report from the Senior Community Planner be endorsed as sufficient consultation for purposes of Section 475 of the Local Government Act.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
I will second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on that specific motion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary, carried. If we could move on to the next motion, please.
Second recommendation is that proposed official community plan bylaw number 4985, 2018, amendment bylaw number 5292, 2024 be read a first time.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Councillor Snyder, any discussion? Councillor Cassidy.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks. No.
I had myself for a question which can be asked afterwards, but I have no questions about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson?
Well,
No, you're not.
No,
you
I don't know
We
what.
can turn Councillor Thompson's mic off. Thank you. Councillor Gambioli? Oh, we've had the motion. It is before you. I'll call the question. And if there are no questions, all in favor? Contrary, carried. Thank you,
And
Councillor.
I'll recommend that proposed zoning bylaw number 4662, 2010, amendment bylaw number 5293, 2024 be read a first time.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Second.
Any discussion?
So I do have a question here.
Thank you, Councillor Gambioli.
For staff. So just to be clear, at the moment, the way it is currently zoned, there are 10 lots. And because there is a blanket zoning for almost all lots in West Vancouver, really, to have a primary residence, a secondary suite, and a coach house, then really, when we say 10 homes, we're actually talking about 3 units per lot. So we're actually talking about 30 units that are already buildable as of right on this property.
Through the mayor to Councillor Gambioli, that is true. The zoning would permit 3 units per lot.
Okay, so we're actually talking about 6 extra units on this entire property than what could currently be built. And just to confirm, if the owners would go ahead with that, in other words, what they have a right to do right now, build 10 homes with secondary suites and coach houses, we would have potentially 30 families living on that entire site, but we would not have any control over the massing of those units in general. We wouldn't have control over the height of the units other than our normal, we wouldn't be able to lower them or allow view corridors, etc. We wouldn't be able to be discussing additional trees, for example. There wouldn't be, that would not be coming as part of the proposal. We wouldn't be looking at, I'm trying to think, extra park space or access. There's a path proposed that would not be part of the plan.
Through the mayor to Councillor Gambioli, because basically for the proposed 10-lot subdivision to proceed, because the development permit is approved with all of the relevant conditions that council already considered in 2017, the applicant would just have to follow those conditions in that development permit, and there would be no negotiation for anything further.
Right, and the pedestrian crossing upgrades are part of that as well.
Through the mayor to Councillor Gambioli, that's correct.
So if it were not developed as part of this plan, we would not have additional things like that pedestrian crossing upgrade.
Correct.
Thank you. Councillor,
okay, thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Snyder?
Yes, so keeping in consideration what the mayor has commented on earlier, I just wanted to, Nora actually, Councillor Gambioli actually stole a couple of my thoughts, and that was just to confirm that with the approval of this, the amendment to the OCP allowing the development permit gives council and staff control over the whole site itself and the development, as opposed to what the developer could do at this stage with the already approved 10 units, correct? So,
that's correct.
My other question was just in regards to the CACs. I noticed you indicated that CACs are not applicable. So my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is if they were calculated in a manner that suggested that there were CACs owing, they would be applicable. This is just not that they're not applicable, it's just that the calculations also, from my understanding, take into consideration other things like money's already spent on the development. Could you expand on that?
But Councillor Snyder, I do think that these discussions most properly fall and can be answered at the public hearing.
But council does not have an opportunity at the public hearing to ask any questions. We're there to strictly listen. Oh, do we?
You could ask these questions, definitely. And I would suggest that staff itemize. You did give a long list of things that the development proposes. They should be costed out so that members of council have the advantage and members of the community know what those items are valued at. Is that okay, Councillor Snyder? I don't want to cut you off in any way.
Maybe I'll let Ms. McGuire decide what to comment on there.
I can be very brief, Mr. Mayor, if that's
thank
okay. Yeah, so through the mayor to Councillor Snyder, so you're correct, actually. I shouldn't have said not applicable. Okay. They are applicable. However, the financial analysis looked at all the things that the applicant is having to pay for in this case, and those all go into that analysis. And at the end of the day, the analysis indicated that beyond what is proposed for the developer to pay for that are in-kind improvements for the site, there wasn't an additional cash CAC in this case.
Thank you.
Councillor Cassidy.
So I'm not sure if this is the time to ask this question, but I wanted to anyway. So I'm very familiar with the site. One of the big issues that we've received emails on is, of course, the exit, the egress, ingress out of Daffodil Road. Was there a specific reason why one of those driveways could not have extended? The road on the property, I think it's Road B or whatever, go down and exit out of Marine? Was it because it was a bad corner, or what was the rationale, please?
I'd have to probably, through the mayor to Councillor Cassidy, that I might require the applicant's transportation consultant to also help with answering that question. But the road configuration that has been proposed and the transportation improvements to help improve road safety in the surrounding area with the proposed configuration have been reviewed and accepted by staff.
Okay, I'm just curious on that one because it might make people a bit happier over the Daffodil situation, and also anybody walking down that road would have a reasonably good access, A, to the school that's right beside it, and B, to the bus stop at Gallagher Place. And it seems, obviously the stage in the game, it might be a really big deal, and I don't know if there's a watercourse way or something that is in the way, but it's just a thought.
McGuire,
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor Cassidy, I think it probably, like I said, we've reviewed what has been proposed before us and reviewed that based on not only the configuration of the site, but also the transportation report submitted, and have generally, like I said, accepted the findings of that along with the transportation improvements that are proposed. But if mayor and council like, we can elaborate on that at the public hearing presentation.
I think the fairest thing is to ensure that all of the information is available to everyone at a public hearing. And there's certainly an opportunity for anybody leading up to the public hearing to send in questions, concerns. We could certainly ask members of staff to address these items at the public hearing.
Even a funky little footpath, so that you can use the footpath to access Marine and get access, because it's a longer walk to the Cranley Drive bus stop than it is to the Gallagher Place bus stop, or Gallagher bus stop. I grew up in that neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you. If you wouldn't mind, I'd just like to clarify a couple points of concern that have come to me through the public. And one of them is that these buildings will have the opportunity to put in suites. But if I'm reading it right, page 238, under the Schedule A, it says there's a maximum of 36 units. So no more units can be added to the site.
Through the mayor to Councillor Thompson, that's correct. The way the comprehensive development, or CD zone, has been written, there's a maximum of 36 units if council was to approve the development.
Yeah, thanks for confirming that. And then the final question that was raised was, has CN Rail been consulted, or do they need to be, and if so, when?
Through the mayor to Councillor Thompson, so there's no requirement for the district to consult them. They are typically mailed notification, just like any other landowner in the area, when notification is sent out. For instance, if council was to schedule the public hearing, as a landowner, they would be mailed notification along with the other landowners in the surrounding area. But there is no legal requirement for notification or referral on behalf of the district to the rail operator.
And I take it there's been no concerns from CN Rail raised?
Honestly, I think that properly should be dealt with at the public hearing.
Okay.
But noted that was a question, and I think it should be included in the information that goes forward, so that everybody, we can't conduct the public hearing tonight because the citizens haven't been notified. And I want to ensure that the citizens get complete information, and everybody hears it in the same process. Is there any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary, the motion carries. Councillor Gambioli.
I'll recommend the proposed official community plan bylaw number 4985, 2018, amendment bylaw number 5292, 2024, and proposed zoning bylaw number 4662, 2010, amendment bylaw number 5293, 2024 be presented at a public hearing on April 22nd, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Hall Council Chamber and via electronic communication facilities, and that notice be given of the scheduled public hearing.
Is there a seconder? Any discussion? Councillor Lambert.
Yes, Mayor Sager, this is a personal request. I won't be in Vancouver on April 22nd, and I would like to attend this public hearing.
But you certainly can by WebEx.
In the middle of the night where I'm going to be.
Oh, you're in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
With the time change.
Yeah.
What would you suggest?
In June? Or in May, rather.
Or later in April?
No, because the 29th doesn't work either. If you can't do it, that's fine. It's just a request.
We do, but you're not here on the 29th either.
No.
And then we have Councillor Gambioli away in May. So I think we have.
End of March.
Move it up.
What
End of
about,
March is not long
what
enough.
about, Mr. Bailey? What about, well, wait a minute. We were going to do the Ambleside Local Area Plan on April 8th. Why don't we move it to April 8th?
Sure.
Everybody here April 8th?
Ms. McGuire just said we could probably do April 8th. So.
April 8th. Fine. Okay, if that's the mover and seconder would have to make that as their motion.
I'm okay with that.
Friendly amendment. All right, we're all here. There we go. I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary, the motion is carried. Finally.
And finally, I'll recommend that proposed development permit 21-131 be presented at a public meeting scheduled for April 8th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Hall Council Chamber and via electronic communication facilities to be held concurrently with the public hearing scheduled for April 8th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Hall Council Chamber and via electronic communication facilities, and that notice be given of the scheduled public meeting.
Thank you. Seconded. Discussion. Councillor Lambert, your mic's on.
Good. Yes.
There we go. Thank you. Question. All in favor? Contrary, carried. Thank you. Item number 9. Marine Drive Bike Lane. Councillor Gambioli. I carry on. Oh, sorry, we do have a staff presentation on this.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
I'm Andy Kwan, Deputy Director for the Engineering.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. We're going to turn your mic up a little bit there.
Hi, better? Sound too close. Yeah, so I'm here with Sean O'Sullivan. We're here to talk about the reporting back on the engagement work that we did for the potential construction of the bike lane on 2500 block of Marine Drive. We're here to seek Council's direction and answer any questions. And I'll pass it on to Sean to give a bit of an overview for you. That's okay.
Thank you, Mr. O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So give you a very quick background. May 15th last year, the Council received a report for information on constructing of the bike lane along Marine Drive from 26th to 31st Street. After letters went out to the residents informing them of the plan, council asked that staff defer the construction of the bike lane, the westbound bike lane between 25th and 26th Street until we can consult further with the residents. And on September, we talked to the CAC to talk about the best way we could consult with the affected residents. So this late in January, February, we sent a letter to the residents on Marine Drive between 25th and 26th Street, looking for their further feedback and any comments or suggestions that they had. From the response to that letter, we received one letter of support from the north side, supporting the construction of the bike lane, and on the north side, one letter opposed to the bike lane, concerned about parking opportunities. Then we received two letters opposed to the bike lane on the south side, concerned about deliveries, visitor parking, family parking, and resident parking. So based on the comments we received and the comments that we had from council, what we're recommending is we proceed with the westbound bike lane on the north side of Marine Drive. And that to mitigate the concerns of the loss of parking on the south side or the increased demand for parking on the south side, that we implement 2-hour parking during the day with residents exempt from the 2-hour parking limits. And that we construct or install a loading zone on the south side. From the council we did over the course of the last year, we found it's very rare that all parking could not be accommodated on the south side. And then we also consulted with the bike community through Hub. We got a number of positive comments and support for the westbound bike lane. They felt because of the grade, the merging from 2 lanes down to 1 lane and the bus stop, that this would be a good location for the construction of a bike lane to make it safer and easier for cyclists using the Marine Drive. So as a result, we think that the westbound bike lane will be a benefit to the bike network in the district, and that with the changes to the parking regulations on the south side, that we will be able to mitigate the greatest concerns of the residents living on both the north side and the south side. Thank you. If you have any questions I can answer, I'd be pleased.
Thanks very much. Do we have any members of the public who wish to address us this evening?
Yes, indeed, Mayor Sager. We have 8 or 9 members of the public signed up. Should we get them started?
Absolutely.
Okay, the first one did sign up to speak over WebEx. We'll get that.
But I wonder, just before we do that, if we want to put a motion on the floor. Councillor Gambioli.
So I'll do that. I will recommend that the proposed construction of a westbound bike lane on Marine Drive between 25th and 26th Streets be approved. That parking on the south side of Marine Drive between 25th and 26th Streets be limited to a maximum of 2 hours between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. except with resident permit. That a loading zone be created on the south side of Marine Drive between 25th and 26th Streets. And that staff monitor the parking utilization over the summer and consider reducing the parking time limits on part or all of the block if necessary.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Cassidy. All right, we can now have discussion on a motion. Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Just one question. How does the resident permitting work? Have we...
Through the mayor to Councillor Thompson, it's managed by the bylaw section, and my understanding is they can apply for 2 resident parking permits per household, and they provide their the vehicle registration and proof of residence at that property.
At no cost?
Fortunately, I don't know off the top of my head, sorry.
So I'm just curious, because we've done this with the paid parking. So do they get a sticker or?
That's my understanding, yes. So we do have that program in Horseshoe Bay and a number of other areas in the district.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's turn it over to members of the public.
Thank you, Mayor Sager. The first member of the public on our list is Alexis Chicoine via WebEx. Ms. Chicoine, you should be able to unmute your microphone at this point or turn on your camera. Both. There you are. You have 3 minutes.
Oh, Ms. Chicoine, you're coming in with an interesting sound tonight. It's nice to see you.
Ms. Chicoine, if you have 2 devices on at the moment, that'll be causing an echo. You may have your volume coming in through a separate device, or you may need to just mute your, thank you.
Let's try this. Move to the next person, I'll go next.
Okay, thanks so much, Ms. Chicoine. Could I have the next person, please?
Thank you, Mayor Sager. The next person on our list is Don Wright.
Mr. Wright. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thanks for joining us and for your patience.
So I'd like to, I sent out two different, excuse me, I'll sit down. 2 different blurbs that were rather lengthy about the potential of the consequences of having that bike lane for the residents, for us residents. So I just want to go over quickly. When we did the June meeting, I believe it was June, it seemed to me and to the others that were at the meeting that there was a general agreement that the council was not for that particular block, but generally for the rest of the blocks up to 31st. That's what we were left with. And then on January the 31st, we got a notice saying that this was all opened up and possible, that you still wanted to do the bike lanes. So at that time I sent in a rather lengthy memento, and I just want to, if you don't mind, Mayor Sager, I'm going to quote you on a couple of your responses, and it's good to have responses from the mayor.
Oh, well, there you go. It's nice to be quoted.
So we really...
And I should tell you, my views haven't changed from that time, so I don't mind being quoted at all.
Thank you. I was going to actually ask if that was all right. So the first one said, thank you for your email. I have forwarded your inquiry to Community Relations and Communications Manager Natalie. She will get in touch with you when time is available. The next one, on February the 11th, after my response on February the 8th, questioning the bike lane, the mayor said, I think you have likely heard by now, but I just wanted to make sure that you know there is no support for putting the bike lane in the 2500 block of Marine. We are very aware of the heavy use of parking on that block.
And I should have corrected myself. There was support from one member of council. I didn't consult Councillor Gambioli before I wrote that email to you, so
I see.
She's going to forgive me. Okay.
So then our response on the 12th was saying, Eileen and I were so happy to hear this. This is relevant, that's why I'm reading it, that there are evidently no plans for bike lanes to the 2500 block of Marine Drive. We hadn't heard anything, so I don't, whether that came out in a mail or in a delivery, I still don't know. So back of the residence this past Thursday, the 8th, that said otherwise, and I asked for any comments from residents by February the 12th, caused much consternation to us residents, as you can appreciate, but your words were very comforting nevertheless, Mayor Sager.
That's time, sir.
So that was our response to that. And then the last one from the mayor was, well, I have found out that the staff were left with the impression, this is February 12th, to look at the issue further. They don't, so that should be that. That was February 12th. So, my main, I'll go through quickly through my main concerns, but that's the timetable for what happened. The bike lane.
Sorry, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to move on to the next speaker. We give everybody 3 minutes. If you could wind up quickly, I would. I will wind up quickly then, yes. The bike lane is not needed any more than a bike lane is needed from Horseshoe Bay to 31st Avenue. And that's where all the bikers go, on that narrow road. And they do fine on that narrow road. So why we need bike lane in that? Yeah, you must always address the mayor and council. Okay, sorry. We take the hits, not the staff. Okay, anyhow, that's the They're just doing their job. That's the first point. Second point is, we're gonna lose a dozen at least parking spaces on the north side to a bike lane. And those dozen spaces are for anything that goes on down in Dunderave, down at the beach, car rallies, renovations of a lot of our houses that are Mr. Wright, we're very grateful. I've kind of really overextended, and I do want to make sure your neighbors have an opportunity to speak. So, okay, well, anyhow, and if I can quickly mention because the others might not, if I can quickly mention the zone that you're talking about, But Mr. Wright, you know what? I'm going to let you come back if we let your neighbors speak first, and then maybe they'll cover your points. It's a no-brainer. Thank you. Should we go back and try Alexa? See if she's got her microphone fixed.
And then Chicoine, you should be able to turn on your camera, and if you dare, your microphone once again.
Alexis. Isn't that what I said? Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, Alexis.
Mr. Coyne, if you're there. If not, we'll try you again in a few minutes. We have some other speakers on the list. Okay, hearing nothing. Let's go to the next speaker on the list, Mayor Sager, by the name of Eileen Wright. Eileen Wright. Okay. I see your name on the list, but okay. So, someone signed you up, so.
Well, there you go.
As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Mayor, as you know, that road is so narrow, and the bikers come along all through Dunderave, or they come up Bellevue, and then they switch up going on to between 25th and 26th, and there's hardly any bikers that we see during the week or in the winter, and now you're going to do a survey through the summer, hello, when all the bikers will be using that road. To me, that's backwards. You should be using that area all year round, because too many people who live in that area, who work in that area, or who want to go for a walk on the beach have nowhere to park. If there's a 2-hour parking lot, 2-hour parking, how are the people who've got families that want to go down and see the fireworks, for instance, which maybe won't happen again, will not be able to park or go to the beach or go to the restaurants in Dunderave? This is going to affect all the businesses in Dunderave Village. Now this new project is going to be built very soon. There's going to be piles of workers. Where are they going to park? Hello? Where are they going to park? They're going to go all up the side streets and everything. All the neighbors are going to be complaining. So here we are on Marine Drive with this skinny lane with buses, trucks that need to be used, and you're putting in zones for trucks. Hello? I don't think that's going to work. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
No,
I think you have to reconsider.
I think you should wait for the vote.
Oh, I'm too impatient.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Sager. The next speaker on the list is Liz Lynch.
Hello. Thank you. Ms. Lynch, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Okay. So, yes, June, I attended this council meeting when the bike lanes were voted on.
If you could just address the chair.
Sorry.
Thank you.
By council, and it was voted no. So all of our neighbors, we thought that this issue had been put to rest. Then we received a notice on February 8th from the engineering department that spoke to another plan that would include 2-hour parking zones, residential or loading zones. This makes it look very commercial. This is our neighborhood. This is supposed to be residential. So the 2400 block is the village of Dunderave. It doesn't even have as many loading zones and things that are proposed for our residents. 2300 block, there are no 2-hour parking signs or bike lane. In fact, there's not a bike lane that connects the Spirit Trail at about 18th to where it begins now on the 26th. So there's a lot of inconsistencies. And on Friday, when February 8th, when the notices were delivered to our mailbox, I actually did not respond by letter because I called the engineering department and spoke to a woman, and unfortunately I did not write down her name. But she's told me that at this time, this was just a technicality and that this was not going to be brought up again. They just wanted to get information out to the residences. So unfortunately, I didn't write a letter. Friday, we were delivered notices that this meeting was going to happen today. It's very short notice every time. Parking for the residences, the problem is with this block, you have so many homes that are multi-use homes with one driveway. We mostly have shared driveways. So we really cannot park in our driveway. Therefore, we need the street parking. If you are going to give, so that's one thing. The south side has very steep driveways as well. So to come up onto the street there is really difficult. The bike lane has never been considered, I don't think, on Bellevue or Argyle. Most bikers bike on Bellevue up into that point and then come up 25th and then hit Marine. Some continue on Marine. It's a choice. But again, there's no connection to the Spirit Trail, and I don't understand what the push is for the bike lane on this particular block. This block is a bit different. It's not single-family homes for the most part, or they're older homes that don't have a garage. To have loading zone signs and 2-hour parking signs in front of my home, I feel like decreases my property value. I feel like it makes it look commercial. And if I came into your neighborhood and started posting loading zones, the idea, I think, for the loading zones came from the fact that we said, what happens if we have a carpet cleaner come for our home? They can't stretch a hose. They have to park on the street because of our steep driveways and our shared driveways. So where are we supposed to have like a carpet cleaner come and bring a hose into our home to clean our carpets? They said maybe we can make a loading zone. Well, you can only make one loading zone on that block. You can't stretch it still doesn't solve the problem.
That's time, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yep. So
what is often, how many more speakers do we have? I'm just conscious of.
I've only got, I think, 2 or 3, depending on how Alexis fares with WebEx.
Okay. Well, let's hear from the last 2 that are here, and then we'll go back, and then I'm simply going to call the question. And I think it's important to understand that from the first meeting, members of the staff felt that there was a direction from council to look for some way. The staff have done an admirable job to try and find a solution. That doesn't mean it will pass.
yeah, I guess summer parking's heavier because of Seawall Walkers. We have this construction project coming up, so we look at the parking that's available.
I understand. Sorry, Councillor Cassidy.
Thank you.
So I don't know if this is the correct time to speak, but the only reason I seconded the motion, as you asked, was because to give the people who came here this evening an opportunity to voice either their approval or their concerns as part of the democratic process. But to be completely honest with you, I'm not going to support this motion, which I had said previously. So the only reason I seconded it was I was asked to, and to give people here an opportunity to speak. So in many ways, you might want to call the vote.
I've had the question called. I will apologize for those who have come to address council, but when the question is called, that is what I will do. Sorry. I will. Okay, Councillor Snyder is going to object. We should hear from the last.
I do think that anybody that signed up should have the opportunity at this point to continue.
Fair enough. I would think the only people that really should be speaking, or I would suggest, are those that might want to persuade council and those that are in favor.
So, Mayor Sager, I'm afraid I don't know Alexis's position, or I can guess Mr. Schofield's position. The third, I wouldn't know either. So,
well,
I can call them up or not.
Schofield is most certainly, I think, going to be in favor. And would he like to address council? Sorry, Councillor Gambioli, your microphone's flashing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry.
We do try and run this as, sorry? We'll try Alexis last. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor and Councillors. It's Peter Schofield here, West Van resident for, 35 years now, I think.
Thank you, Mr. Schofield.
Yes. So I would like to make 3 comments on this proposal. First of all, I'd like to address the excellent work that the staff did in preparing their report. I was very pleased with it. They did their diligence in consulting with the residents, and they came up with this, not only consulting with them, but they came up with a plan which involved this parking for the 2-hour parking during the daytime, and also having a loading zone. I thought that was very, very good. I read the report, and one thing that impressed me, in particularly in the report, was the fact that since the new bike lanes were installed from 26th to 31st, there has been little or no comments or complaints coming from those residents. So to me, this looks like you have residents in 5 blocks that have lost their parking on both sides of the street. It would seem to me that residents in the 1 block should also be able to adapt to losing the parking only in 1 lane, not 2 lanes. Now, the second point I want to make is, how is this going to affect cyclists? I think you've had enough correspondence now to realize that there is a safety hazard for cyclists trying to go up that particular stretch of road, because the cyclists go up very slow, the vehicles come up faster, and there's also 2 lanes feeding into 1. But how is this going to affect me? I avoid that particular section, or have avoided that section, and when I would go westward. And what I do instead is, when I want to go further west, I go along Bellevue Avenue as I go out to Horseshoe Bay. And if I'm going into Dunderave, I will take the safer, much calmer bike routes that are on the north side of Marine Drive, and I come along Fulton, Gordon, Haywood, and then if I'm going to Dunderave, I'll go down 23rd, 24th, or 25th. So that works for me. And when I go to Horseshoe Bay, I come along along that same route. Along Fulton, I go down 21st and get on to Bellevue. So basically, I avoid that section. And now I see these lovely new bike lanes there, and I say, gosh, how can I possibly get at these bike lanes? But I actually did it once. I did drive just to try it out, and I went up that block. There wasn't much traffic. I felt safe, but I realized that this is a safety problem, and I did get to that beautiful bike lanes on the top at 26 and continued on my way. So that was the one time, but I like to do that on a regular basis, not just that one time.
That's time, sir.
Okay, finally, I'd like to say that this is a gap, a safety gap. And I think it's a safety gap that needs to be closed, and it fits in with, we in HUB have a program called Ungap the Map, which we attempt to try and reduce these safety hazards that are on these gaps of bike routes. So here we have bike routes on Bellevue, and we also have bike routes on Haywood. They're coming into this 25th and Marine intersection, and all of a sudden, to get to the brand new, beautiful bike lanes, you can't go up that hill. So I'm urging you to adopt this proposal and get rid of this safety gap.
Thank you, Mr. Schofield. Thanks very much. Should we try Alexis one more time?
I will do so. Third time's a charm. Ms. Chicoine, you should be...
There we go. Here she is.
Hi. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, now you work.
Oh, I am so sorry for all these technical issues, you guys. Apologies to Mayor and Council for the runaround. I am here in support of the mobility lane from 25th to 26th. We've moved past calling them bike lanes because these are paths that will be used by much more than bikes. E-scooters. I'm a wheelchair user with a really cool front drive e-system that allows me to go and keep up with the bikes in these lanes. Powered skateboards are out there, etc. These are all features that are using our bike lanes and our shared pathways today. This lane is the creation of the lane aligns with the council's strategic plan and the official community plan. And going over the staff's report further, I was extremely impressed on how they worked hand in hand with three of the concerned locals and really collaborated with how to make this work in the area. With their 2-hour parking, they're exempt from that feature, the loading zone, and what has been most commented about so far tonight is the parking. And they studied the parking trends. It was noted that these new regulations that are on the table cover the needs that are there. There's always growing pains when it comes to building new infrastructure. I myself did not understand that the separated bike lanes from downtown Vancouver were going to be such a success until I got my front drive. A group of us went on a really cool adventure last summer. We crossed on the sea bus, went all the way around through downtown, and eventually made our way back across the Lionsgate Bridge. It was awesome. The fresh air, the sun in the face. It was a whole new experience, seeing the city and just feeling it, really. Crossing the bridge was amazing. It was so much different than just sitting in my car zipping to and from work. Those mobility lanes and many in and around Metro Vancouver are packed now. The number of people using those routes to commute and for fun have definitely grown. And this is how I see the progress through West Vancouver. If you build it, they will come. And yes, right now it is only painted lines on the road, but it is such a great start. The Spirit Trail on the North Shore is a locals and tourists highlight. It brings people into the areas that we wouldn't otherwise see. They stop for lunch, they go for dinner, they shop along the way. The expansion through to Deep Cove will be stunning. I am so excited to ride on that in a few years. Maybe one day, even though we've heard a speaker otherwise say it's not needed, maybe we'll get to Horseshoe Bay. But for now, it's baby steps, one block at a time. Let's approve this section to keep the progress going for kids, for locals, for visitors. You heard our first speaker tonight share that the benefits for our kids, the confidence it builds, is so important. I realize that this changes for the locals in this one area, but the mobility lanes that are throughout Metro Vancouver are amazing. And for those of us who are slowly starting to embrace getting out there in the sun, I highly recommend it. Please don't listen to the few. Listen to the many that are using these lanes that can visit West Vancouver. We want to grow West Vancouver. This is how we start. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Sorry. Sorry, we're still a little loud. Thanks very much. And those were very inspiring words, and I don't want to diminish them in any way, but in my view, the safer route is to ride on Bellevue, to go up 26th, and to join the lanes. I just think that encouraging more people to ride through Dundurov, the commercial district. I think we should encourage people to go on Bellevue. Councillor Cassidy, you're first, I think. Yes, you're right. Sorry, Councillor Gambioli.
So I just wanted to make a few comments. We're good. Nobody else is.
I think. Oh no, we've got.
There was just one more name on the speakers list.
Oh no, we've got two people who want to put their hands up.
I will hold on. Hold on to me there.
Okay.
Mr.
Yes, sir. Sorry, we had a list, but if you didn't
The
sign
last
your
name
name.
is Will Diet.
Oh, we had. Sorry, he was on the list.
Yep, that's his last name.
Sorry, sir, we missed you. But, oh, there's two more people on the list. Okay.
Thank you, Marion. I live on the north side of the 2500 block Marine, and points have been brought up that there was no complaints from 26th on, but 25th is a completely different thing. There's not multifamily dwellings over the hill, and I mean there's even triplexes in there. And where are these people going to park? And I don't know where they get their parking numbers from, but I live there and I have a work truck that I park outside. And I know the challenges of parking. And if it was limited to just to the south side, there would not be parking at a lot of times. I just think it's a crazy thing. Why not use Bellevue? And I'm not against bike lanes by any means, but that block is unique. And okay, so the south side, you're going to have what, maybe 10 or a dozen parking spots. Then they proposed this loading zone in front of Vina. And how much is that going to take up? You've got the buses trying to come in. I mean, I think it's just asinine. You can have the bike route continue along Bellevue. Basically what you've got is a bike lane starting from nothing and going to nothing, as far as I'm concerned. And these weekend warriors that come out, they're going to ride in hordes, in packs, illegally, regardless of any laws or bike lanes or whatever, and they'll go along Marine Drive. So,
thank you, sir.
That's all I have to say.
Thanks very much. And the last speaker. Oh, there you go. Okay. Okay, is that it? Has everybody had an opportunity to speak? Sorry, and now Councillor Gambioli.
So I'll just say that it's difficult to remove space from cars in our society, and especially in this town. But the reality is that the roads are public space. The roads are space that is owned by all of us and should be accessible to all of us. Not only people who own cars and need to park cars. North Shore Safety Council, interestingly, was speaking at the beginning of this meeting and agreed that we need separated bike lanes. Separated bike lanes are an issue of safety for children and for people using any kind of active transportation. I note that this location is about a block from Irwin Park Elementary School. And we're actively training students at that elementary school to ride their bikes. And yet we are providing very few safe opportunities for them to do that. So I don't know, but when we ran for office 18 months ago, I do not remember anybody arguing for parking. I remember people arguing for improving transportation, for helping the environment, for safety, and including active transportation. So I would like to walk the talk And I would like to say that I support this wholeheartedly. And I agree we should have a bike lane on Bellevue as well as on Marine Drive, because we need to promote alternative transportation other than cars, and we need to keep people safe. And I don't want, on my watch, to know that because we didn't create a bike lane, that somebody in a mobility device other than a car got run over. So I would rather make it safe, and I'm happy to support this motion, and I hope that the rest of council agrees.
Thank you, Councillor Gambioli. Councillor Cassidy.
So, I've driven up and down Marine Drive, and I've seen the new bike lanes that they've put both on the south and the north side of the streets. And I thought about this, and first of all, I was surprised it came back, but all that being said, I thought about this, and I thought, well, no big deal, quite frankly. So what we'll just do is I will say okay, and to the parking on the bike lane on the north side of Marine Drive, and let the parking go to the other side. And then I began to reflect on the average biker that I see out there on the weekends. And my fear, quite frankly, is when those bikers are coming along the south side of Marine Drive, they're going to see that hill and pick up speed. And so my fear is not so much of the biker. My fear is of the individual who opens their car door and the biker goes into the car door, or the biker goes through the passenger window of that car. Reason being is, many, many years ago on 10th Avenue in Vancouver, that was a very often occasion for it to be happening. It's just kind of, to me, an accident waiting to happen. And so if you think about bike safety, you think about any form of safety, I think you use use Bellevue, you go up to 26th, and you cut onto Marine Drive at that point. Because I know if we give the north, or I suspect if we give the north to a bike lane and we don't give the south, that the human brain will just say, I went up the hill on a bike lane, so I don't see why I can't come down even if there is no bike lane. So I do not want a cyclist going into a car door or through a passenger window because of simply human error. So that's where I stand on it. It is a very dangerous block, and all of those individuals who have spoken about parking and such the like, they're very correct. From 26th Street forward, there is virtually no parking on Marine Drive. Never has been, and I doubt there ever will be. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I do think the block between 25 and 25th and 26th needs special consideration. It is a unique part of the block. And, quite honestly, as an actively mobile person myself, someone who cycles, someone who runs, someone who walks, I'll always defer to Bellevue, number one, because it's just more pleasant. But, you got the chaos of buses, commercial vehicles, other cyclists. And it's that corner, we've already recently seen 2 deaths with the buses turning. And it is unique because people plod through Dunderave because they have to. And they've been plodding through Ambleside. So once they get to the end of Dunderave, the cars accelerate. And the problem with that part of the block is there's no visibility beyond the top of the hill. When you tip through that hill, you've got this broad perspective for 3 to 4 blocks, and it's much, you can navigate it. But I think it's crazy to want to be able to divert through that intersection. And again, by painting a line on a road, making somebody feel that they should be safe because there's a painted line there. I just can't support this. And I think Bellevue is an excellent option.
Thank you. Councillor Snyder.
Yes, I don't want to belabor the point of the other councillors. My comment is I don't like the idea of encouraging cyclists through the Dunderave block, particularly now that we have reduced it to 1 lane. with the patio that's on the north side of the street. That's a one lane as it is already. So there's already promoting another vehicle and biking to travel along that same one narrow stretch, particularly when there is a extremely large number of pedestrians that constantly cross Marine Drive there. Not only are you going to increase the risk to the pedestrians, but also to the cyclists themselves. I too am of the opinion that if I'm a cyclist, like one of the other cyclists said, is you purposely avoid that area, and you purposely avoid it for a reason, because there's other routes that are safer, and that means Bellevue up to 26, where there is bike lanes all the way on the north and south side heading westbound. So from my perspective, I agree that this one stretch deserves particular special attention, not to detract at all from the encouragement of wanting everybody to exercise different forms of mobility, but this stretch, I just can't support this.
So just before I call the question, gentlemen, thank you for all of your efforts. I hope you don't go home tonight, because I don't think the motion's going to pass. We are grateful for your work and your thoughts. And so I wouldn't in any way take this personally. I'll call a question. All in favor? Contrary? The motion fails. Again, gentlemen, thank you for all of your work. Item 10, Councillor Cassidy, please.
Okay, it is recommended that proposed animal control and license bylaw number 4545, 2008, amendment bylaw number 5299, 2024 be read a first, second, and third time. And number 2, proposed bylaw notice enforcement bylaw number 4368, 2004, amendment bylaw number 5326, 2024 be read a first, second, and third time.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Watt. I can hear you. Any discussion? Call a question. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. Item number 11, Councillor's motion. Councillor Cassidy, please.
Do you want me to read it all, or shall I just say as written?
I'm happy to have it as written.
Okay. It is recommended that whereas on November the 27th, 2023, Council provided direction as written,
Just as written on the agenda will be fine.
as written on the agenda, and whereas it is desirable to add greater direction, therefore be it resolved that as written on the agenda.
Thank you. Councillor Snyder? Any discussion? Call a question. All in favor? Oh, sorry, there is discussion. Sorry, is there someone who wanted to speak to this item?
Not that I'm aware of, Mayor Sager, no.
Oh. Sorry. Councillor Gambioli?
Questions? So just questions. As I said last week, I would have hoped that there was someone from staff in the commercial business department that was here, because it's not clear to me. There's no here comes Mr. Bailey. There's no background, and there was no information included in this motion around like the justification for naming all of these pharmacy, healthcare office, veterinary medical clinic, etc. Why are these ones chosen to not occupy more than 20% of the width? And then the same thing for the financial services, all of the rest of them, including income tax services, bookkeeping, financial and investment services. From a business perspective, I'm not an expert on this, and I didn't know that our councillors Cassidy and Snyder were either. So I'm assuming they had some help from our planning staff to delineate all these different businesses, because there's no information, no studies, no report, no research that has been provided.
Thank you, Councillor Gambioli. This is a council motion, though.
Yeah,
this
so
is brought on.
Through the mayor, it is, as referenced there, councillor's motion regarding amendments to the zoning bylaw. So it's council that's making the motion. Staff help direct and provide, some efficacy and procedural comments around how the motion could be structured, but it's generally council's motion. I think that the intent, and perhaps council could speak to this, was to reduce uses that council perceives as having a negative impact on the streetscape and liveliness of the commercial area.
Okay, Okay, so I guess then my question is to the councillors who are proposing the motion, what information, reports, expertise, research do you have that, causes you to think, be very specific about all of these different items, pharmacy, pet care, veterinary clinic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's very specific, and I'm just wondering about, I don't know anything about this, and I didn't know you guys were experts, so I'm just asking the question because it's a very big step, and it's a very comprehensive list of businesses who I don't think have a clue that they're being, restricted in this way.
Firstly, thank you very much, Councillor Gambioli. Neither Councillor Snyder nor myself purports to be an expert on the subject. How do we know about this? Well, we just used our two legs and we walked up and down the street and we saw that these businesses were monopolizing our commercial district. And if you want a viable community, your 15-minute walking community, then you have to give somebody A, a place to go to enjoy themselves, and B, a reason to walk to our business district. So if you actually get out on the street and walk Marine Drive, you will see exactly why we have pointed out these various businesses. They are monopolizing, they are choking the life out of our business community, and it is time that we address the matter. We got so specific because if we merely call them pharmacies or such the like, they could well be introduced under the terminology retail business. So they can come for a license and use the term retail business. So we had to be specific.
Thank you, Councillor Gassi. I must admit I was really quite surprised that a business that sells crypto assets, including cryptocurrencies and non-fungible tokens, could be called a retail business. I must admit I got a bit of a kick out of that.
And so then where does the 20% of the width of the ground come from in terms of your knowledge and understanding and research?
That is what is used currently in the commercial district.
That's what was used for banking institutions and et cetera in the past, but I don't know how it relates to, all these other businesses. What businesses are left?
Councillor Cassidy.
The businesses that we would like to have come to occupy our street front, hopefully, will be coming. But just to ease your concerns over the loss of these businesses in the community, there's nothing stopping them from going to the second floor, either by way of a staircase or an elevator. We just do not want them on the ground floor. So we're not asking them to leave the community. It's just when the lease is up, and that the lease will not be extended to a similar business wanting to come in to that site. They can go upstairs, but not on the ground floor.
Well, I agree with some of these, but I just really have a hard time with, having no input from staff, having no input from our business community, and having two councillors walk up and down the street and decide what they think should be our new bylaws. I've never had this happen before in 12 and a half years of sitting here. I think it's really unprofessional. So I'm having a really hard time with this.
Okay, so
I see Ms. O'Brien from the Ambleside Dunderab Business Association, and I see that she would like to address council on this. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much. Maureen O'Brien, Executive Director of the Ambleside Dundreary BIA. As you all know, we did Imagine Ambleside in 2020, fall of 2020. Overwhelmingly, our community and our businesses have said they want a more vibrant business area. We need places where people can walk and shop. We're looking at a new LAP. We want to have more housing here. We want places where people can just walk and enjoy. When I look at our commercial area, by far Bellevue is the premier street. Bellevue from Grosvenor to say 15th. And there's none of these places there, none of them. And I will say last year, 3 of the businesses on that street between 14th and 15th have told me they had their best year ever since they've been here. And some of them have been here for 15 years. And that last year was their best year ever. So people are starting to go out on the street, they're starting to walk, and they like that. They like restaurants. So we have room for bookstores, we have room for clothing stores. Right now, we have no commercial retail space in Ambleside or Dunderave on the ground floor. None. I've lost Latest Scoop. I have worked so hard to try to keep them here, and I have no place to put them. So we have some for sale, but we have none available for lease. So this is really, really important if we want to create a viable, vibrant business area. Then I think this is important that we do this, and it's supported by the feedback I get from our members and from the community. So happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson.
Yes, everyone's done?
You're okay?
First of all, I just want to remind Councillor Gambioli that this type of approach to policy did happen during your last term with Horseshoe Bay residential parking. So, you know, every once in a while people feel they've got the common sense to go out in the field and determine what's the right thing to do and get support for doing it. But the reason I'm actually wanting to speak or actually ask Mr. Bailey, on Thursday you wrote a note to us about vape retail. And that has to do with this motion?
Through the mayor to Councillor Thompson, it's not specific to the motion that's on the floor, but staff acknowledged and recognized that one item that wasn't included in the list of things that council was looking to further regulate were potentially vape stores. And that then I provided in a note some direction to council on if you wanted to add, vape stores to this list of things that you might want to control, that how you could do that.
Great, and I'm trying to read it quickly myself, but I thought when we approved this, we limited Westvan to 4 licenses. 2 have been which approved, and 2 would have to go through a review.
That's for marijuana sales, not necessarily for vaping. Vaping is more typically associated with tobacco uses, and it's a different type of use.
Okay.
So you do limit marijuana dispensaries, and there's a whole process associated with that. This is a different use. This is for it's retail associated with. I don't really know what they are because I don't do it, but vape pens and that sort of
I don't
stuff,
know.
right?
I don't know. Has there been much of an uptake on that in the Ambleside, Dunderave area? Any vape stores other than?
There aren't necessarily, but the vape stores, because of the rules that they have associated with blank windows and making sure that people can't see in because of the provincial rules around youth accessing those things, it could be seen much sort of like the preliminary days of the marijuana dispensaries as a similar type of thing. So as for information, staff acknowledged this, recognized this, and said if you wanted to add this as a use that you want us to report back on further restrictions on, then there's a way to do that.
Okay, thanks. That's clearly my ignorance of understanding what those services are.
Councillor Snyder.
Yeah, my response was just to Councillor Gambioli to further indicate, Ms. O'Brien, that this was not just thought up by Councillor Cassidy thinking, okay, well, this was a great idea. There was a lot of consultation that did go on with the Ambleside Dunderave Business Improvement Association, who is in contact with the community that they work with. And the reasoning, again, for the very, very specific nature of some of the definitions is because, again, as Mayor Sager says, there seems to be little ways to get around different zoning areas, so they had to be as specific, and that's where staff was very helpful in trying to be very clear in the definitions of these areas so that there was not going to be
any confusion.
Any confusion, exactly.
Thank you. Any further discussion? May I call the question? All in favor? Oh, no, we have somebody who wants to speak. Yes, Mr. Webb. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Hi, Tim Webb. This isn't why I originally came, but since this subject's up, I have 20 years with Colliers and Jones Lang LaSalle commercial office leasing, retail and office. And as you know, I manage and look after Walker Place as well as own a retail store. So I think I have a fairly good understanding of commercial impact and the leasing impact on the overall health of the retail community. Basically, in any retail, if you go to a mall, the most valuable space is the space beside the liquor store. The highest traffic use creates foot traffic, creates critical density, which creates sales for the people around it. The problem with cash exchanges is, A, I don't see the member open, but secondly, one or two, 3 or 4 guys a day. So a lot of the uses that they're talking about are very low traffic. And low traffic is death to the other retailers on the street. You need critical mass, you need foot traffic, you need somebody coming to go to the liquor store, and on their way by, they walk by and see a clothing store, they pick up a shirt. That doesn't happen when you have a pharmacy with one person every 20 minutes or some of these stores. So, to me, by, limiting these uses, you create opportunity for other retailers, which will create a more vibrant and full-rounded retail experience. But again, critical mass requires foot traffic, and foot traffic creates healthy retail. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. And it's wonderful to see all the new foot traffic around the new little French restaurant on Clyde Avenue. What a wonderful thing it is to see people enjoying themselves, having lunch. May I call a question? All those in favor? Contrary? Carried. Thanks very much. We'll go now to item 12. Could I have a motion, Councillor? This is bylaws amendments. Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recommend that proposed zoning bylaw number 4662, 2010, amendment bylaw number 5270, 2024 be adopted.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Councillor Thompson. Any discussion? Question. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. The consent agenda items. Councillor Thompson, please.
I'll recommend that the consent agenda items as follows be approved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Oh, sorry. Seconded. Councillor Cassidy. Any discussion? Question. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. Thank you. Are there any reports from mayor and council? I would just like to say at the beginning that tomorrow night is the North Shore Sports Awards at the Rec Center. I think it starts at 7 p.m. for anybody who wants to join us. It's always a fun time. Any other reports? I have a motion to receive the mayor and council's reports. Councillor Cassidy.
Okay. Councillor Cassidy must have dozed off a bit there.
No, I'm just asking if you would like to move the motion.
Thank you. I recommend that the all reports of mayor and councils be received for information.
Thank you. Seconded. Discussion. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. And we know there is someone who would like to ask a question this evening. Thank you for your incredible patience. This is a longer meeting than normal for us. So thank you for
Thank you, Mayor.
waiting.
So we have 1, 2, 3, potentially 5 names on the list for this item.
Oh no, please go ahead.
Okay.
No, it's fine. We'll make sure everybody gets a chance. Thank you.
Sorry, good evening, Mayor and Council. Melinda Slater, 1058 Keith Road. And it's been a long night, and I'm sure you're as tired as I am. I came out to speak to agenda item 7, only to arrive and see a sign saying that there was not going to be any public input on that tonight. So couple of questions and comments. I will make this quick. Who's responsible for deciding that there would be no public input on agenda item 7 and even item 8?
That's because it's going. The motion was to put it for a public hearing, so you don't speak to set it. You actually speak at the public hearing. So it was the same with item number 8.
Oh, okay.
Because we don't want to dilute the public hearing.
So if I understand correctly then, we're not looking for public comment on this these particular items until the public hearing.
Right, the public hearing, because that way everybody hears the same thing at the same time.
Okay. All right, so a couple of concerns.
But that failed in any event, so the motion, item number 7 didn't go anywhere.
Item 7 didn't go anywhere, okay. Because part of what I wanted to speak to was the complete lack of engagement on that, what I see as a significant zoning change.
But understand that it didn't go to.
It didn't go there. No.
It would have had lots had it gone to a public hearing.
I would also comment that I spent a unfortunately disproportionate part of my day preparing speaking notes for this item. So it's unfortunate, sure, that this has happened. I think the whole thing has been handled pretty. It's been a bit of a gong show, to put it mildly.
Well, that happens when people send emails out that aren't necessarily full and accurate.
Are you referring to my email to mayor and council?
No,
Okay.
not yours, no.
Okay.
But there was an email that was circulated widely in the community.
Okay,
That got a lot of response, and had it gone to a public hearing, then people could have got a full and complete picture, but
Okay.
we've debated it already tonight, so.
So just to be clear, my comments to mayor and council on this were not born out of any community email, and I think I sent you something on that earlier today,
Yes.
just clarifying that. So I think that's important to note that. But part of what I was going to speak to tonight, and it seems to be particularly relevant as it touches on issues with public hearings. And I think seems to be a lot of confusion about public hearings, including with some members of council. And public hearings are the last stop before something is approved. And I can't think of the last time something has gone to a public hearing and has been rejected. That's possible, but I can't think of the last time that's happened. A public hearing is not a forum for debate or for questions and answers. It's strictly one-way communication. And the public is allowed 5 minutes each to speak to council, and that's it. Council only listens, they don't speak to the issue, and they don't answer questions at a public hearing. And once a public hearing closes, council cannot discuss or consider any further public input.
That's time, ma'am.
Okay?
So what I would recommend, and I hear your concerns, and I think you should take particular interest in the new provincial legislation where they are considering banning public hearings in their entirety.
I would just leave off by saying I think that is why town hall meetings are so important, because that is the forum that gives us the chance to discuss, to debate, to ask questions and get answers. That doesn't happen at a public hearing. So
we agree with you entirely.
Okay. So my whole issue here was there's reasonable concern when someone sees when I see an agenda item tonight that and like you say, it's been dismissed, but I don't know that till I get here tonight.
Okay, but just so you know, we did hold a town hall meeting a week
No,
ago.
I know that. And the problem is agenda item 7 was not discussed at the town hall meeting.
Well, I'm not going to debate it tonight. We're going to have, those of us who are trying to find a way. Those of us who are trying to find a way.
There's really nothing to debate on.
No, what we are trying to do is find a solution to the rental issue. We will continue to work on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
All right, thank you, Mayor Speaker. We have 2 more speakers that I think are signed up for this item, Rick Wagner, and the next name, I cannot see the first, and maybe Kelsey is the last name, if Rick Wagner is.
Mr. Wagner, are you?
He's not here. Okay.
Not here. There you go. Maybe last but not.
Building on what that lady just meant, I came here to also speak on the rental issue, but considering it's become moot, fine. The risk is, if you're voting on a motion that luckily was tabled, there was a risk at that time that it could not have been tabled and it could have been pushed through. I think her point is very valid in that, but at the end of the day, as I've said on the record before, I think Mayor Sager and council seem to be, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but what I've watched by people's actions is that you're trying to find the right solution. And again, I want to be sure that we're on the record that this is not a hostile issue between tenants, City Hall, and the owners. You got 30 owners at maximum. They may own more than 1 or 2 buildings. My area is sport, so I'm going to dovetail with the fact there's a sport awards tomorrow night. You should have it on the record that Collingwood just won the AA Boys Basketball Championship, which is one of the first ones in a long time for West Van to win. It's a very big event. You would know Collingwood High School. Number 2, I'm one of the donors of Place for Sport, and I was happy to see how it is progressing very well.
We are very grateful for your support of that.
Number 3 is I'm one of the personal funders of the Kits Beach basketball courts and the 10 tennis courts at Kits, so that if you do want, I'm not here to lobby for this, but I'm now in this neighborhood, and I did the same thing where I lived in Kitsilano. We put $100K into the Kits courts for basketball and $730 into the tennis courts at Kits Beach. Happy that you got pickleball in there. If you want to upgrade the basketball courts, we can help you do it without trying to meddle in your affairs.
That would be
We always want to
absolutely
improve
wonderful.
our community. And again, we'll be back to the rental issue because it's very important, but thank you for at least hearing us. I know you got a lot on your agenda.
Thank you.
What I will ask is that when the rental issue comes up, that we can get it towards the front of the meetings or make it a one important meeting where nothing else is diluting it out, because we had to sit here for 3 hours for the right to get to speak to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And please make sure you come April 30th, 10 a.m.
As long as I'm in the country, I'll be.
Be there.
Can I ask
Sorry,
that you-
Councillor Thompson.
Can I ask that you forward your contact information to council? If you're,
I-
oh, okay. Just if you're interested in
This
getting
good
involved.
gentleman has
Okay.
he's been very helpful in
Thank
setting
you.
up the Tenants Association. He's also was very helpful in feedback into the matter that came up tonight as well. We're grateful for his input.
I'm happy to help in there.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions from members of the public? Thank you very much. I'm going to call for a motion to adjourn. And let's, Councillor Cassidy, would you like to adjourn the meeting this evening?
I recommend that the March 11th, 2024 council meeting be adjourned.
Councillor Watt. Call the question. All in favor? Contrary carried. Thanks very much. And I recognize the gentleman in the back of the room helped enormously with the keen fitness. So thanks for joining us tonight. Look forward to seeing you April 30th with your shorts on. Thank you, everyone.